you getting yourself ready for our show?
Welcome to the holiday hangover edition of Jigs and Bigs. This week, guys, I kicked off 23 with a trip to shake the Swift River monkey off of my back. And Shawn has started his prep officially for open water and outdoor shows. We've got week 1 of Bait of the Week. It's a special series just for you. We've got Texas angler Robert Drummond. He's our special guest this interview. This week, he is in the beef seat with some very, very interesting conversation that you don't want to miss. We wrap the show this week with a friend of the show, Bill Galekis. We talk about our transparent attempts to kill the deadliest fishing part of the year with some nerd banter. You guys are not going to want to miss it. Welcome to 23. I want to dip my balls in it. Guys, go ahead, get yourself something enjoyable to take in all of this podcast greatness that we kind of loosely around this time of year base around fishing. Guys, we'll see you right after this. You know where I said welcome to 23, and I said what I said there? Name the television show that comes from.
I don't know. I wasn't ready for that. And usually
right.
I keep my mic. I usually keep my mic muted when you do that. Well, now everyone can hear that my mic was not muted because I was not ready for that, and I thought it was pretty funny.
The State, man. I love The State. That could go on my list for other stuff. Man, quality comedy from The State. 90s era MTV, TV, good stuff. Oh my goodness. How are you, Shawn? How's the how's this first official week of 2023 been treating you? Thumbs up, thumbs down on the 2-3.
Just I don't know. It's been so busy. It's been okay. I mean, not a lot of bad things going good at home.
Yep. Just
waiting on more doctor's appointments for all the ailments I have. And
True.
Trucking on. I mean, I'm in basketball gyms every day. A lot of good with the fourth graders are definitely progressing. They won another game the other day. It was pretty good.
That's awesome.
Starting to kind of get a feel for the court. And the high school kids, they're high school kids. They're doing well. There's always room for improvement. We got a big slate this week. I think we got 3 games. So yeah, I'll be busy all week again.
That's awesome. It's good. It's going on. I've been asking everybody all week. I said, what do you think so far? 4 days in, 5 days in, 6 days in, 2023, or thumbs up or thumbs down. Most people seem all right with it for the most part. They say it's too early to say what's messed up. I say I can't give you a good decision until we get to really June. That's when I need a good 6 months to go in and some time on open water to really kind of nail this down. I have been trying to get out to fish a little bit. I did earlier in the week. I made a little bit of a run to look and see what I could spot because we've had some pretty warm weather, and I'm like, let me see what I can find for open water if I can find anything, and it was pretty rough. Actually, I was talking with our good friend the Polish Hammer there, the Polish warrior, Pavel, and he was telling me he went through this one lake that I fish regularly with him, and one section of the lake was open water entirely, and the other section, he's like, from what I could see looking down at it through the trail, he's like, looked like it was ice, and he goes, and I think I saw people on the water, and I was like, those people are what we call morons. Because here's the facts, guys. Ice fishing is not happening in the Pioneer Valley right now. There is I don't think there is any safe ice at all right now, and it is bananas. Nothing I would trust for sure. And this is like the shittiest kind of situation you can have if you're an angler in our area with what we've got. Because if at least we had ice, we could you start dropping in elevation and
I think the bird, I'm not driving up there. I might not ice fish this year. Just happens.
Well, there's some winters that are like that.
Yeah, I've already started getting ready. I mean, really, April is going to be here before I know it.
Yeah.
Especially the way things are going. So I've already started getting going. as we divulged last week, I will be stepping into a fine new plastic vessel.
Yes.
For this year. So I have to like inventory what I have on this current boat.
Yep.
It's got to go to Three Bells. It's, I've got a lot of work to do. And then on top of that, we've got the show coming up for Cheshire, the Rod and Gun Club. You're not going to be there. I am. And I'm going to be there late because I got whacked with a doubleheader for basketball that day. So Nelson will be helping out quite a bit. He's our official Jigs and Bigs roadie. Mm-hmm. He'll be helping out. But yeah, it's been a lot of week of a lot of phone calls.
Yeah.
With what are we doing? What do we have going on? Starting to get the schedule ready. It looks like Nelson and I will probably be helping out Three Bells the day after the Cheshire show because they have the New York show. There's some logistical help they need that we're going to be able to provide.
Yep.
It's starting to get packed up, man. I'm already looking at the schedule going, oh shit, I'm gonna blink and it's gonna be mid-March, and
it goes fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's the 8th right now, right? We're recording this on the 8th.
Yep.
I mean, I've got less than 2 weeks to get everything I need, really my Slayer documented, inventoried, stripped down, and then get that to Three Bells. That day, I'm also picking up any lures that Wrangling Baits feels like throwing on our table for the Cheshire show, and then I'll see them again on Friday.
Yep.
Or excuse me, on Sunday. So I already lost days. It's getting busy.
It is nuts.
And also, another thing that was quiet I did this week was I had to reach out to an agency about a tournament. And while Nelson this year was great about the permits we needed to grab for MAKB, he took care of it all. It was awesome. There's one location that I'm not going to divulge yet. Once the schedule is completely solidified, I will divulge all of our stops.
Yeah.
There's one place that is not a conventional. It's not a conventional process to get a permit, so I'm going through that, waiting on a response.
Yep.
When all that gets back, we'll talk a little bit about it. But in the meanwhile, I did put in a permit for another place as a backup, just in case that one doesn't go through.
Yeah.
So our schedule is pretty much set. And then I was hoping this week, if I get a chance, I'll be able to do all of our event descriptions for MAKB, and I'll be able to do all of the work for Chronic Trips and Jigs and Bigs. So this year, as we discussed, Chronic Trips is going to start off with April because, we talked the 420 bonus. It
works.
It fits. Yeah, it works with Chronic Trips. So we're probably gonna alternate this year. So it'll go Chronic Trips, Jigs and Bigs throughout the year, etc. But next year we might go Chronic Trips, maybe 2 Jigs and Bigs in a row. So that way,
it lands with
7 months in the tournaments.
Yeah,
we want to make sure that if Chronic Trips is going to get that April, then we make sure every other year that everything's leveled out. So
it's I'm
excited.
It's awesome, man. I recently recorded an interview that's coming up soon, actually, with Noelle Roth. And we were talking about tournaments because she's dabbled a little bit. I know she mentioned she did, I think it was Slay Nation in the interview. Don't quote me, it's all in the interview. But she had dabbled a little bit and wants to kind of experiment a little bit more. And I told her, I said, you should really jump into these Jigs and Bigs tournaments because they're so unbelievably fun. Like, it's a scavenger hunt. Like, it's a great way. And I went through the whole explanation about, as a content creator, this can work great for you, and throwing out the idea of potentially bringing out another wave of tournaments that are team oriented with creators and their followers. We had toyed around with this idea before, and she was very excited about that. She's like, that sounds pretty freaking cool. I don't think she's exactly worded it that way. She was pretty excited about it. I think this year for me, I want to do everything I can to get our numbers. I would love to see 50% more entries into the tournaments. Get more. I would love it if eventually we had 300 and 400 people competing. That would be amazing.
Well, that would be great.
Just trying it out, just doing it. Because it's online. We're reaching people. I know that I'm saying these words and they're getting to your ears, folks. We'd love to have you in on these. Two things. First off, we have kind of changed up some of the prizes. I know, like, you and I had talked about this and stuff, but you can look forward to some new stuff coming up. We're gonna have some giveaways going with each tournament, so there's a little bit more incentive to be part of it. But also, it is a major way to help support the show. Like when we do the things that we need to do to keep things going over here, this is a direct way that you can go ahead and do it. It's not a big chunk that we take. We leave the vast majority of it for the winners. But, we do take a little piece. So you jumping in and being involved with these, you fuck around a little bit. Find out if you're going to win or not. That's what they say, right? That's what the kids say. Fuck around and find out.
Fuck around and find out.
Yeah, I think that's where it's
exactly.
Man, it was like, so I had one hell of a week this week. I had a couple weird things going on. I had a very busy week. And initially, I was like, all January, I'm all lined up with all my trivia nights, 5 nights a week now. It's a great schedule. I have less and less private events coming up is what I was intending. That's not exactly the case.
Let's talk about your week and then come back to trivia.
We will.
We had some trivia. We had some trivia fun this week, but let's keep going.
So I had, I had a game on Monday, like I normally do. Started at Plan B. Shawn, you were there for that one. It was an intimate game, but it was a whole lot of fun. In fact, I made the call to. I basically pulled an audible and decided I'm going to pull the music round from this game on Monday because I figured it was going to go over like a fart in church. It just wasn't the right playlist. It was the best singles of 2022. Nobody, even kids, don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? It was just one of those things where I'm like, it's this time of year. It was one of those things where I was obligated to do that type of round as we transition to a new year. So we did it. Tuesday, though, I had the distinct honor of postponing my regular trivia night in East Long Meadow at Craft 32 and doing this. It's been a long time since I've gotten to do one of these, but I used to do the private party for the Union Station, Platform Sports Bar, the Deck, Tunnel Bar, that whole group. I used to do the private party for them year after year after year. Usually play a little bit of trivia, DJ. It was always awesome. And what they do normally was go to another bar or something like that early, on a weekday, early on, fill the place with all their employees, and it's such a great group of people that work there. They had this year decided because the company had grown so large, it was a little bit tricky to kind of manage. They just did it in-house at Union Station. They hired a caterer to come in. They had some bartending staff that they had come in specifically for this. None of their own employees, so nobody had to work or anything. It was really, really great. And the way they did they had like a raffle table set up where everybody who came in got a raffle ticket. They put their name on it, and then you would call a name. Somebody would go up to the table. They'd pick like whatever the prize was that they wanted. And they had some amazing stuff on this table, like drones, like really interesting shit. There was the first thing that caught my eye when I walked in was there was a giant like longboard skateboard. Those are real popular now.
Oh, no shit.
I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And I go, over there, and then what they had made the decision, they're like, so what we're going to do is whatever's left at the end of the night, we're just going to use for prizes for the winners of trivia. Man, they had such a good time. It was awesome. It was so good. Cool. I got home that night, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was like business as usual for the most part. I did have to schedule. I have a follow-up for my with my dentist to see how the tooth situation is doing. That's coming up next week. And everything this week kind of went pretty well. But midweek, I was reminded of two things. So first off, I totally forgot that I'm going to be in New York on the 28th.
Yep.
Totally forgot that I have tickets to see Louis C.K. at Madison Square Garden, second row. I'm not passing that up. My wife would leave me if I told her I wasn't going. Yeah. So this is why you and Nelson are going to be hitting up the Cheshire Show and handling all that. And the other thing is that I had this week, I gave my wife her birthday present early this year.
She did?
Yeah, I did. I was like, I kind of want her to get excited about the whole thing because it's a trip. We're going to go, it's a short trip. And this is outside of my wheelhouse. This is not something I'm into at all. This is 100% for her. She is going to enjoy this. But I bought tickets to take her to go see Phantom of the Opera on Broadway for
Excellent.
as it's leaving. It's going off Broadway, I think at the end of February or maybe March. I'm not 100% sure. So, and it's one of her favorite things. And I remember when we first started dating, she would get into my old blue Chevy S10 pickup and bring a Phantom of the Opera soundtrack, and my eyes would roll out of my head. This just is not my thing, and she knows it, but she was so excited, and very, very cool. I had put a post on Facebook looking for best options, because we're taking the train down for when we go to Madison Square Garden. We're just taking the train down. I want to see, what that's all about, but because we're seeing a matinee, I was like, I'm thinking I might want to drive. And this way we can get in, see the show, have dinner, and then zip back out. And there's a whole lot of, the last time I parked this was at CBGB's, I dropped like $100 in parking. That was 20 years ago, So I looked and I did, there's some resources. Spot Saver. Have you ever heard of this website?
No.
Spot Saver.
Talk to me.
It's like garages all over the place. You enter where you're going. It'll basically allow you to put a reservation for a space in there.
Whoa.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think based on when you put the reservation in, that time is when the rates are. So like if you do it during the week when the rates are low versus on the weekend, you can save some coin. I'm like to that because I don't mind driving in Manhattan at all. I can deal with it. I can suck it up. My wife hates it. I drive anywhere. My wife hates driving anywhere. I drive everywhere. So we're throwing around that idea. And then I also got kind of blindsided because I'd totally forgotten that my cousin Jeff had a birthday party this weekend that I had RSVP'd to go to. I was like, that's right. The old boy was turning 50. You know how
half a century.
Yeah. It makes me feel so old. So many of my friends are hitting that 50 mark, and I'm like, wow. I got a few years before I get there, but geez, man, wow, what a change of pace. So we all got together over at the local Elks Club and drank like fishes, ate some good pizza. Actually, what good surprise party are you having if you don't order just too many party-sized pizzas? And that's exactly what happened. And I'm going to throw out some chickpea shit here. My wife and I, we think we know a thing or two about good pizza. We do. Had pizza all over the country, and we appreciate different styles of pizza, but we think, we have a good beat on what's good. Have you ever had pizza from Giovanni's or heard anybody that's had pizza from Giovanni's?
Where's it out of? Is it out of Chicopee?
It's out of Chicopee. It's on Memorial Drive up by the South Hadley line.
There is a chance.
Okay.
There is a chance that I may have... Wait, it's all the way up by South Alley.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. Has this been there for a significant amount of time?
I think it has been there for a little while.
Like, we talking like 15 years?
Yeah, I'll bet you. It's been there probably since like the mid-'90s, I think. I want to say that there's always been a pizza place there, and I want to say it's been that spot.
Is that little plaza that always has a porn store? Like, always?
No. This is it's a little plaza. There's a little peach there. A little peach. Yeah. Yeah. It's so anyway, we're sitting at the bar. My wife and I, of course, we pick out the best real estate we can find, corner of the bar. We're sitting there. We got our drinks, and I said, hey, I'll go grab us some pizza. So I go over, I put a plate together. I come back, napkins and everything. We sit down, we're eating our pizza. My wife looks at me like, oh my God. And I know that look on her face. I know what's going on up here. She's like, this is out of this fucking world. Where did they get this from? It's like, no shit. No, we had just ordered from Giovanni's. I think we ordered like grinders and salads like a couple weeks ago. And we had never had their pizza. And I was like, yeah, this is really good. This is giving me like old Bridge Cafe vibes. Like that used to be for me. That was like long time ago, like pre-2000. Like, I'm like, that's the kind of vibes that I was getting from this pizza. But again, we're talking that's 23 plus years ago that I've had that pizza and that I'm comparing it to. So the memory might not be spot on, but this was out of this world. I come home from fishing today, and we'll get to that. Let me put fishing on the back fucking burner on my fishing podcast, right? Let's just do that.
It's January. We've been doing it for a month.
That's true. It's been happening. I go and I come in today from this fishing trip, and I got the honey-do list of errands to run and go and handle, and I get the call from Holly, and she's like, "Hey, go pick up X, Y, and Z at the store." I come home and I'm putting everything away. I was like, "Hey, what do you want to do for dinner tonight?" And she goes, "I kind of think I want to order pizza from Giovanni's and see if that was a fluke or not." It's not a fluke. It's not.
It's good.
It's solid. I was like, wow, okay, not a fluke. All right, there we go. So, yeah, as far as fishing went, when we left this party, there is, for whatever reason, there is no cell service downstairs. And I came up and my phone exploded in alerts. I was a jukebox champ and had the Touch Tunes app going on my phone and loading it up with all kinds of inappropriate stuff. And my phone explodes and I get a couple of texts. One of them is from one of our favorite Maine residents, Scott Wood. We'll get to that in a second. The other one was from a close friend of the show, Eric Dowd. Eric had hit me up and he said, "Hey, bud, I'm going to the Swift." Now, he lives right in that area. Like, that's it, quite literally, I think it's his backyard. He goes, "I'm going to meet up at the Swift." He's like, between January and June 1st, there's no regulation. So he's like, we can go and fish all over the place. He's like, let's go do it. So we go, and it's like, that is a different style of fishing. Like, there, you will see folks on the bank and wading in the water, and they're stacked right on top of each other. I recently, just like a day ago, 2 days ago, had downloaded this new app just to try it, called Trout Routes. And it's just a mapping app for all types of rivers and creeks and streams everywhere. And it gives them ratings as to what they do. Of course, the Swift River has like a blue medal, like gold label. It's the highest quality you can get. It is a great fishery. For those that don't know, if you haven't listened to the earlier parts of the show, this body of water and I go way back. I grew up in Belchertown, like right on the banks of the Swift River. That was where I would go with my dad and fish. And no, I would watch other people catch fish. I had never caught a thing out of the Swift. And I got to tell you, man, 2023 is the closest I have been to getting even a bite over there. I know that there's fish there. It's just a matter of I just got to get in the truck and make the drive and then go and fish this spot. I was over there today. We fished 5 or 6 different, maybe even more, maybe even 7 or 8 different spots. The last one of which was this really nice pool. And we had some big rocks that were out deep. And I was throwing a couple of different colors of rooster tail, little 1/8 ounce rooster tail spinner. And there were some good, like 18-inch rainbows, because that water's crystal clear. You can see every little thing. Stealth is very important. Like, you got to walk really light and, and be careful. But, we would see these good sized fish move into strike zone of our baits, and they just wouldn't commit to it, just wouldn't do it. Finally, it got to the point where I think Eric had thrown on some type of a little crank and was just like, I'm going to give this a shot. We'll see what happens. And same thing, same reaction. And I said, every single trout that I've caught this year has been on a Ned rig paddle tail. I'm doing it. Yep, I'm doing it. 2.8-inch paddle tail. Let's go ahead and give it a go. And yeah, they were very interested. Unable to hook up, and poor Eric was freezing his ass off, man. I went out at the full base layer, mid layer, everything. I was ready to go. Gloves, the whole 9. And Eric's like, dude, he's like, I'm gonna go wait in the truck, man. I was like, fuck it. I go, I'll meet you. Let me take 10 more casts, then I'll meet you. We'll go get some tacos. So
tacos. Where'd you guys go for tacos?
It all comes together. So we went to a spot called Mexicali Grill in Ware, not far from the Swift River at all. And so Eric and I go over there, but this is after. See, that other text that I had gotten was from Scott. And earlier in the day, actually the night before, was it? I think it was on my way to trivia, actually. Scott had initially texted me that he and his wife were going to be in the area locally to visit some family. And he wanted like just a dinner recommendation for that area, Palmer, Ware, Belchertown, Munson, stuff like that. And I was like, what do you think? And he's like, I'm thinking maybe Mexican if you know anything. I was like, well, I've never been there. But I think you should definitely go check out Mexicali Grill because everything I've ever heard about it has been out of this world. People rave about it. So he's like, all right, cool, man. Sounds good. So then this Saturday morning, I get another text. He's like, yeah, man, I don't think she's feeling Mexican now. He's like, what do you got as a backup plan? And I was like, well, if that's where you're going, like near into that area, I said, take her to Teresa's and Ware. I said, it's decent. It'll be all right. You won't be disappointed. That's for sure. He's like, okay, cool. Come to find out, I guess the old girl was feeling Mexican because they went to Mexicali Grill, and that text that I had gotten on the way out of the Elks Club was, holy shit, this place was awesome. Thank you so much, and I'm glad it worked out. I am super, super glad it worked out for them. So Eric and I went there, and I had to see if if my recommendation had actually lived up to what I thought it would live up to. Yeah, 100%. I got to give this place some credit. I look over their drink menu and I asked the server that's there. I was like, yeah, can you do a michelada for me? And he goes, oh yeah, michelada, absolutely. I was like, with clamato? And he was like, oh yeah, absolutely. What kind of beer do you want? So I said, oh, just have a Pacifico. They had it on tap. I figured I was like, I'll just make life easy. They got Pacifico on tap, great. And he comes out with this, not even a glass, a chalasse. Like rimmed with spicy salt rim on the top.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like legit, real deal. Awesome. I had some, what are they? Mexico City street tacos with steak, caramelized onions, little mango salsas, out of this world, rice and beans. Cause it's getting cold now. We got to keep things warm in the house. So we're.
Oh my God.
That was the same. When I said that to Eric, it was the same thing he said.
Is that your attempts at saving on your heating bill? Because
I'm trying, man. We just got hit with an $800 fucking heat bill. Oh God. Fucking crazy. So I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. We're gonna go ahead and do this. This will be fun. It was absolutely awesome. I should have stuck it out. I was like, I'm gonna get going on this honey-do list and call it, and I took off. Eric did go to another spot. He was like, within 5 casts, he caught a brookie. And he's like, yes, he's like, next time we go, he's like, we're gonna start here. We're gonna work the other way up. I said, let's do it. That's perfect. Absolutely. So
awesome.
Yeah, very, very good. I mean, 2023, I hate to say it, but I think I have to make one of these goals is that I'm going to break that Swift River curse this year.
Try it on the Swift. I'm telling you, just bring Cheese Whiz.
Yeah. I mean,
Cheese Whiz.
You might be right, man.
It's the only time
so
I've caught fish on the Swift River.
Cheese Whiz in the jar, right?
No, it was a brick.
Do you mean Velveeta?
It might have been Velveeta, whatever.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Some sort of fake cheese product.
Yeah. It's got to be Velveeta.
Something you can mold up. So it's Velveeta, whatever.
And it floats. And that would make sense because it's primarily oil.
But I had tiny little bits. I mean, I rolled it up the size of a pea and put it on the smallest hook you've ever seen in your life, and I was catching trout that way.
That
was high school. I was a real refined fisherman in the mid-'90s.
Oh, dude, you got, whether it's high school refined fishing or it's me just trying to finally break the curse of the Swift River, like it's bound to happen. Yeah, I'll go for it.
So Velveeta does come wrapped in a brick,
foil.
In a brick with like foil, right?
Yep.
Okay, so it's Velveeta then. My bad. If I've been saying Cheese Whiz, I apologize.
It's the same shit. I mean, you take Velveeta, you water it down, warm it up, you got Cheese Whiz. But I was thinking you were taking like a jar of Cheese Whiz and just like dunking the hook and like.
Might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, might not. I don't know, Get some cheese sticks.
There was one thing we didn't talk about when we talked about trivia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So hit me with this.
Well, I hit a couple people with it at Plan B Burgers, and
that
then
was fucking great, by the way.
Well, I figured the wait staff there was familiar with me, and there was not a lot of people in the restaurant.
No.
So I went ahead and figured about a third of the way through the game that making a huge disturbance would be actually funny.
Yes.
And so I
almost shit my pants.
Yeah, well, the two girls at the bar that weren't playing, I think, did.
They did.
And we had what? We had myself. There was a couple playing across from me. There was the 4 Hendos.
Yep.
Was there anybody else playing?
Adrian.
Oh, yeah. So they were up top.
Yep.
There was three of them. And then there were 2 people at the bar. And then if anybody else was in the restaurant, I didn't know about it. Well, I got the question right to earn myself a round of Drinko, which means I tell you when to stop on the ingredients on the wheel of Drinko.
Yep.
And I thought, well, this will be funny. And when it came to be the first ingredient, you said, okay, Shawn, let me know when to stop. And it went about 2 seconds. And I, at the absolute top of my lungs, I could not yell this any louder, yelled, stop!
Like he was being attacked in a garage. It was fucking ridiculous.
The two girls at the bar jumped, and they were 30 feet away from me.
So high.
And everyone got a good laugh. The hendos were all laughing at it. And I had already said, I'm passing on this. I'm not taking the stupid drink out.
Absolutely.
And then the funny, everyone calms down, and then, okay, Shawn, tell me when the next one. And everyone's staring at me now, and I'm like, stop.
Exactly. You're like,
stop.
Hand gesture.
Stop.
Stop that. Stop that.
That was a good one. What happened on Friday? Because I made a double trivia appearance this week.
Friday was bananas.
Wow.
You get Ian's contact info about Bass Cabin?
I did. I'll have to contact him this week.
We had Ian's brother Shawn and his girlfriend Caitlin. They were there. That was awesome. We had a good day. That's actually 2 in a row that they've played over there, which is kind of nice. No hendos this week, but we had a couple of teams that normally call Nathan Bill's home. We had Tally Hose making a return appearance, a second appearance for the week, which is not likely. But actually, this actually kind of worked out because we had 2 of them. One of them had played before, and then Claire had not played on Wednesday. So this was, I mean, she needed to get her fix. I understand. Bobby roast beef is in demand. In demand. We had Hit the Pickle. They're normally play on Wednesdays. Came out for Friday. We had a couple of brand new teams that were in there, and then of course, like one of my favorites that's over there is Bad Chipmunk. I got to give Bad Chipmunk a little bit of credit, man, because I'll tell you what, I don't think there is a team who has performed so well by this absolute sheer like seat of their pants, like Bad Chipmunk. I don't think there's a team that's ever had as many fast tracks like that, just with like these random guesses making it happen. We had Clorox Bleach back, and actually the woman that was with Katie from Clorox Bleach, she had she runs a local venue locally that wants to do like a monthly event with me. So I told her, I said, I'm definitely down for that. I go, I would recommend you plan for a Saturday or a Sunday, unless you want it to be like really weird hours on a Friday or something like that. So I said, we can definitely kind of put something together and make it happen. She's like, okay, cool. So that would be really good. And actually, it was her second game of the week. I had a huge game Thursday night. Absolutely enormous. And that music round, that hit songs of 2022, I figured it was going to go over great up there. Like the first 3, everybody missed. It got to the point, we got to the 4th question, I was like, is there a gas leak in here or something? I know all you guys know this music. What the fuck is actually happening here? And it was awesome. We had some new people that had never played before that were just like, this was unbelievably like the most fun I've ever had on a Thursday night. This is great. So very, very good. I am very happy. I got some things brewing potentially with Nathan Bills. Oh, speaking of which, Sully at Nathan Bills asked, he's like, hey, so what's going on with all the fishing stuff? I said, what do you mean? I was like, I'm still doing it. I was like, podcast is still going. I go, we're coming up on 150 episodes soon or anything like that. So I got a couple of ideas brewing that kind of involve like their new venue, Craft 32, and doing something maybe in East Long Meadow, like maybe a charity event or something that we could organize. Could be kind of fun. Yeah, there is a little like, I'm thinking a kids event. That could be fun with like a reception afterwards for the adults. That could be cool.
No bull balls, please.
No bull ball. Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know. They're getting a little adventurous with that menu over there.
Yeah,
they are.
So you said we're coming up on 150. I had this episode noted as 149. Am I correct on that?
I think this one is 149. Let me double check. I'm going to look at what we got right here. I want to say it is. No, this one's 148.
Is it?
This one's 148.
Oh shit. 149. I got to see where I fucked up.
Oh, it's all good. No worries. We're making moves. I was like, this is happening. We're still growing over on Instagram. Things are happening over there, which is awesome. There's just so much shit going on. And then Next Saturday, I am taking a ride down to Narragansett for the Narragansett Surfcaster show.
Yes.
One Mr. Matt Thayer from Klondike Custom Creations had given me a little bit of intel about this place, and we're gonna go and check it out. And he said I'm very excited about this. He goes, yeah, he's like, I'm doing. I forget exactly what the number was of plugs that he's got for saltwater plugs, but he's like, it's ungodly. He goes, then I've got all my freshwater stuff that I'm bringing too. He's like, so I'm going to have all my freshwater gear there as well, which is awesome because there are a few items I would like to stock up on. And this is that time of year that you want to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to go and visit one Mr. Patrick Martin after the show, because the show I think goes, I want to say it's like 9 to 1. So the idea is I'll be meeting Todd down at the show, and Todd and I are going to go and do a loop through, hang out a bit, check out tables, and, just kind of geek out on some cool fishing shit. And then we're going to hook up with Matt and head over to Pat's pizza place and gorge ourselves there. Then the idea is then Todd and I are going to go elsewhere, and we're going to find a spot to truck camp. That's the plan. I got my carp gear. If Mother Nature allows us to, it would be great if we could get near a spot where we could carp fish. That would be absolutely insane. I'm going to record a segment with Todd, because why the hell not? I'll also be recording an interview with Bass and Britt while we're out there, because that's just how I roll. And, Todd and I were talking about podcasts, and he was talking about possibly getting into the world of podcasting. And I think I might make this trip like a little bit of a clinic, like show him like what's up, because, I think this is I love this platform. For creating content. I think it's absolutely wonderful. It's not for everybody, but I love this platform. I think it's fantastic.
It works for two motor mouths like you and myself.
Yeah, exactly. It really, really does. And it's also great because, let's be honest, I was talking with Eric today. He's like, dude, he's like, I just don't have the time to sit down and carve out like an hour to listen to a podcast. I was like, an hour? I was like, bitch, ours are on average, they're like 2 hours and 45 minutes. I was like, 3 hours is not weird for us to hit on some of these shows. I was like, I understand if people don't just sit down and go through them all throughout the entirety. But what's nice is you can just always go back to it and listen to it while you're on the go. I have a 25-minute commute for work. Cool, man. You knock out 25 minutes of the show if it entertains you, of course. And that's, I think, ultimately what we try to do here for people. But it's awesome, man. It's
even when I listen to them, I don't usually get through the show until Thursday.
It takes me about 2 days. It's easier when in the summer, like I'll tell you, when I'm in the kayak, I'll oftentimes put it on while I'm fishing. And just leave it on, like hanging with my phone on the Rogue leash, hanging on my PFD, just listen to the show, fishing, because then I can carve out the time to listen to the whole thing. That's when it really is very nice for that. I also think you and I had a conversation about updating some sounds and samples for the show. And
starting with Paul. Signature sound.
So I'm thinking that every time I bring up Paul, I think, or anytime there's a part of the story that comes in or we introduce him in any way, I think I'm going to edit that sound that we had, that anvil hammer sound, to some kind of like swinging or like a whoosh beforehand. So you hear the hammer move and then it goes pink. And I think what I'm going to have him say in Polish is my tagline at the end of the show, which I can half say. Tits and ass, smoke some grass. I can half say that. Titski dupa. I don't know the rest of it.
Okay.
But
whatever grass is.
Yeah, I'm like, and I know I'm gonna say, hey, call the FTG line and leave this as a voicemail. Translate this into Polish, and I'm gonna be like, so do you want it literally, or should I say, do you want me to go and say this, or do I? No, literally, just whatever, literally, go word for word, whatever it is, make it sound stupid. I think it'll be good, but that could be pretty, and I'll put a little reverb on it. Heard, like the last episode. What were your thoughts on the quality of audio?
Well, didn't I mention that a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
When you started and you said, yeah, I did something different. And then you started talking about audio stuff.
Since then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. Just last week I made a change, and I think we might have hit pay dirt. I really like these settings.
I'll I'll double check and I'll pay more attention to it. When I was listening in my car, I mean, it's not like I have the greatest audio system in my car. And honestly, you know what? Some of the things I listen to podcasts on, I don't mind downgrading the audio devices. You know what I mean? I'll use shitty Bluetooth speakers, whatever I have on hand. And I think last week it was mostly in the older Bluetooth speaker I have in my bathroom.
Yeah. Oh,
But
okay.
I think that's where most of it, because I use that one when I'm like folding clothes, doing laundry, cleaning the bedroom, cleaning the bathroom. I think that's where and I honestly I wouldn't even have noticed anything on that speaker because it sucks so bad because it's old.
Oh yeah, and it's tough with some of those because you don't really know where the line, like where the baseline is with them.
Yeah,
you know how they measure up. But like that, like listening in a car, I think is the best way to do it because that's where you're used to listening to shit. You know. And I noticed that I was actually able to get a good punchy sound at a lower level, which I think is right where I like it. I found one little tweak that I think make things really nice, and also the order of that I was processing the audio in. So I was just curious. Nobody's anytime I mess with things audio wise for the final product, I very rarely get anybody who says like, yeah, that sounded like shit or something like that. Thing I go back and I tweak it again, but yeah, I was just curious. But yeah, I mean that's kind of been my week where we're at.
Yep.
Let's see. Now you and I had we had this week. There was something that was pretty interesting that kind of popped up. You had sent me a little article.
I did.
Yep, from Wired to Fish. Wired to Fish. It's Wired to Fish. I'm pretty sure it was.
Do we want the music for this one? We haven't busted our intro music out for this in a little bit.
I'm definitely about to play the intro for it. If you guys are ready for this, I think they're ready. I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yeah, I was pretty much ready when we started.
Chicks and Pigs, Bait of the Week.
So Shawn sent this article over to me from Wired to Fish, and it was very interesting. It's entitled "The Best Bass Fishing Lures." Now, you guys can go and check this whole thing out, but basically what they do is they divide up lures into specific categories, and they go and they basically choose a specific item, or brand or unit, whatever you want to call it. They choose one to kind of feature and break down. Now, what we're going to do here is kind of weigh in a little bit on these baits, talk about our experience with them, or even in another conversation, sort of similar baits, because there are some here where they list like, oh, these are great alternatives if you can't find this. This is a list of 25 different baits in total. We're not going to do these all day today. I think we're just going to do the top 5. And when I say top 5, these aren't in any kind of like specific order or anything like that, but they are listed by category there. So you want to dive in? We'll start. I'll announce what the first one is.
Sure. Number 1, go for it.
No, so number 1 of 25 is the swim bait. And specifically the one they're talking about is the Bass Tricks paddle tail. In this, they talk about the size and the dual pore plastic body creating a buzz in the angling community, but the influence being twofold. Some major tournaments were won on this. It led to an enormous influx of imitations and other manufacturers looking to fill that void with consumers demanding these hand-poured style swim baits. But it had a lasting effect as it brought Western swim baits to the whole country, and anglers began kind of incorporating swim baits in their regular arsenal of fishing. These, have you ever specifically used a Bass Tricks paddle tail?
I might have. There's a good chance because these look extremely familiar.
Super
I might have
familiar.
had a pack of them.
Yep.
Back in the day. I'm saying back in the day, within the past 10 years, I probably had a pack of these. And honest to God, I can't remember. Well, saying that I can't remember using them means I probably didn't catch anything on them, but it doesn't mean I was using them properly.
That's exactly it.
Where this, really hits home with me. I mean, look, the Bass Tricks is there. But we talked about, I really am sold on Kitech paddle tails. I mean, it's the same thing, but slimmer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Really, when it comes down to it, there's a tweak here and there for every type of lure. and then it's up to the angler. And I was going to harp a little bit on the intro of this about, how much I hate titles that
I know.
say the best of anything. Fuck, the best for you, maybe not the best for us. But this was kind of an agree I don't know. Do we want to make this like kind of an agree disagree thing?
I think what we should do is we should talk about, use what they've got in this as their example, and then back it up with like a bait that we for sure have some kind of impact with. Okay. Something along. So you're saying Kitech, and I am all in on Kitech baits. I think Kitech, their paddle tails are absolutely awesome. I'm going to go and throw in another one that I like to count on just as much, and it's from Biospawn. The Exo Swim is a great paddle tail. It actually was the very first paddle tail swim bait that I started throwing, and I started throwing them in I want to say a 3.8 or a 4-inch, and even a 5. And what I would initially use them for is underspins primarily, specifically the keel weighted underspins that have the screw lock, and they're a little bit more weedless. So I would throw those, along grass lines, like right into grass at times, like bumping them around rocks, all kinds of stuff. These are fantastic. I've had some really, really good luck, like in clear water with the lighter and smaller ones. But then I started using them for, the occasional jig trailer on swim jigs, or, on spinner baits and chatterbait. I started getting stupid simple with it and just using them on various jig heads, ball head jig heads, some EWG Neds, things like that, to just kind of like streamline it even more. Like make it a little bit more finessey. And I've been having great results with it. I think that, let's be honest, anytime you're talking about a bait that imitates bait fish, and this imitates bait fish very well, it's a home run.
Yeah. So in this article, there's a link that not only says a link to buy at a tackle warehouse. I know Wired to Fish and Tackle Warehouse have their own thing going on.
Yeah.
But I just kind of clicked on the link to kind of really dig into these, and there's a couple colors that don't look so bad. They are a little bit pricey, these the Bass Tricks paddle tails. Yeah. But I can see they have small sizes too, so I could see myself buying a pack of these and flinging them around for a Ned rig or something.
Absolutely. There's even in this article here, they mentioned that there's a line, they're branching into crappie fishing and BFS. With the popularity of BFS, a lot of those more finessey swim baits, there's a big appeal there. There's a huge appeal. This is kind of interesting, man. I like it.
Yeah.
You want to read off number 2?
Yeah, I'll jump over to number 2 here. Number 2, I actually have a little bit of experience with. Not a lot of success, but a little bit of experience hawking these things around. They go to right from the swim bait to the popper, the Fred Arbogast hula popper. I mean, who the hell didn't have a hula popper in the 80s? And then all of a sudden, poppers really started getting, I don't know, the imitators came out. I mean, I think one of the first lure packets I ever got was a jitterbug, a hula popper, and I think there was something else in there, like a crazy crawler or something, all together in a 3-pack, 3 tackle. You know what I mean? And I've thrown them around. I haven't had much success with the hula popper, but that led me into getting a little bit into pop R's, and that's where I've had my sex. My sex, Jesus Christ!
Wow,
that's where I've had sex, on a Rebel Pop R.
On a Rebel Pop R,
where I've had my success. God damn it! Make me seem like a degenerate. Do it to myself. Where I've had success is with a Rebel Pop R when throwing poppers around. So I give those a try. Obviously, it's a completely different shape. The hula popper is really wide. I mean, it's almost as wide as a jitterbug, if not as wide. Don't have sex with it. There's hooks. And give a popper a try. I mean, you use some. You use something. You use a different type of popper, don't you?
I do. When it comes to poppers, there's 2 that I like. One of them is by Booyah, and I forget the name of it. I'll look it up. But it's what makes it unique is it has a small square bill on it. This Booyah. Yeah. So you can crank with it, and it has a nice sort of shimmy under like maybe like a foot of water, at most, maybe even 6 inches. Like it's super shallow. And the one I've got is super crazy light. So I throw it mainly on spinning tackle. The the other one that I use is by Sixth Sense. Now, Sixth Sense only makes one popper, and it's a doozy. It put in the work. Like this fall, really like from about mid-August until we got into sometime in October, it was great. I mean, even as a multi-species lure, I've caught, 17 and a half, 18-inch bass with it, and I've caught, 7 or 8 inch bluegill, when we've gone out. I've caught a bunch of different stuff on it. It was really, really good.
The one negative thing I can say after I had that first hula popper, and this, I hope to God things have changed with their models, but back in the 80s, the late 80s and the 90s, when I had that one, their skirts were complete and utter garbage.
It's
that is
funny
one
you
thing
say
with that. Yeah, that it was like a rubbery skirt, and it would just solidify. It was awful. It was like a pork rind.
It was terrible with the heat. Like it would just melt. And so was this like, it was like a year, I think, before COVID. You remember over in South Hadley, Mass, that giant flea market used to happen all the time? It was enormous. Off of Route 47. Oh my God, it's amazing. One of these days, like this spring, if it ever comes back, we'll go. We'll have a field day there because there's a lot of old fishing tackle. A lot.
Okay.
And one time I went, and I had been out fishing and it was pretty fruitless. And I got home and, my wife's like, it's a beautiful day. She's like, why don't we go out with the kids somewhere? I said, you know what? I got an idea. Let's take them to that flea market. We'll walk around over there. They'll have a good time. So we did that. We walked around. We had such a blast. It was so good. I had gone and picked up like a couple of different colors of hula popper, brand new condition actually. Like I don't know if this is somebody bought like a bunch of old stock that like from a store that had closed or something like that. Some of these were in really, really good condition with boxes. It was
nice.
It was pretty awesome. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty great. Of course, I lost those because I'm a moron. But it's funny you bring up the skirt specifically because I'm going to go through some of this article here. It basically it says it was first widely marketed topwater popper hitting the market sometime in the 1930s. So when we say old school, we mean like really like Great Depression old school. The chugging bait was made to imitate frogs around vegetation, which, nowadays most people don't think about throwing something with treble baits around topwater vegetation. But, at that time, like that's when you were throwing topwater, this is something like along what you were throwing. It had it says Fred Arbogast was credited with developing the hula skirt for giving the lure a lifelike look and feel. This hula skirt led to the development of spinnerbaits and jigs with these flaring rubber skirts for tempting fish to bite. And that's kind of the big credit there that they're giving is like now you've got jigs, you've got chatterbaits, you've got so many different baits now that feature skirts. I mean, shit, now you've got people that will buy the skirts that just add on to an EWG hook, so you can make a Texas rig essentially dressed, if you will. Yep. It really kind of did. I mean, obviously, I think that the material changed over time and has gotten a little bit better. I still occasionally get some. Have you ever used a live rubber jig?
No, I hate that shit. I prefer silicone.
Sticky, right?
Yeah, I'm not a real fan.
Yeah. I mean, I know some people that swear by it, but that's, some people drink Coke, some people drink Pepsi. That's the way I look at it.
That is a true statement.
It is. And it's pretty interesting. It says, but a popper is one of the best topwater around precise targets when fish are shallow, especially around the spawn and post-spawn periods. And again, in the fall when the bait is real small. And that is a fact. I love throwing a popper with a short rod, like a 610, like nice, precise casts. And I like taking my time with it. It's like Tai Chi, I love that shit about a popper. I love it. Next up, number 3, a tube. A tube. Specifically, they list the Bobby Garland original Gets It.
You want my dissertation on Gets Its?
Yeah, I'm curious because I've never fished one.
Holy shit! I used those for years. Years. Now, with that Gets It, aside from being what I think is the perfect multi-species size, their jig head is a little bit different. It's more arrowhead shaped.
Oh, it comes with a specific jig head?
Yeah, I think that contributes to the way it gets it spiral down in a certain way that other jigs don't. They're really, really neat. I mean, I don't know how many I don't know how many bags of Gits I went through 15 years ago. I really went on a tube kick, and I was throwing them into everything.
Yeah.
I was throwing them into weeds. There was one day, one of the first big number days I can remember with a buddy of mine on his bass boat, and no longer has it. We just went out to Congamon Jr.
Oh,
actually.
all right.
And I was throwing, we were having very, very little luck. I worked a full-size Zara spook for, I swear to God, must have been 3 hours.
Jesus Christ.
Worked it. Finally got one little bass, a little 12-incher, and said, I'm done with this.
Yep.
And I said, well, I caught a bass. Now I'm going to try something different. And I moved to a Gitsit. There were storms coming in that day.
Uh-huh.
We were on the south side of the island.
Okay.
I think I always mentioned that to you.
Yep.
There's a weed bed there. And I was throwing a Gitsit. It was, what do they call it? It was like silver or gray with black, silver, and red flake. They might call it their motor oil. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. And I was throwing that. And after the first dozen bass I caught, I had said to my buddy, tie one of these on. I don't know why they're hitting it.
Yeah.
And then two or three fish later, I pulled up another bass, and it hawked up a baby crappie, the exact size and color of that jig. I had unknowingly matched the hatch with a Gitsit. And then obviously from there, I mean, I turned it to smallmouth, and for whatever reason, I kind of just went away from jig or from tubes as I got more into Ned rigs, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I can understand
I think it's the weedless aspect with using an extra wide gap Ned hook.
Yep.
I just haven't tried it. I've used them a lot.
Yeah.
Game on. I'm with you, dude. They're really good.
Yeah, I have. Are they still? Well, of course they're still produced. There's a link to Tackle Warehouse to get them. So if that makes sense.
I think you can buy 50 bags too.
Really?
I'm going to click on that here link. Gitsit soft plastics. Let's go there. The Gitsit chub tube, Gitsit fat tube. Oh yeah, they got all sorts of shit.
Get your old chub tube.
Whichever one has the most colors. The fat tube, 3.5. Yep. Let's see. 10-pack. These are all 10-packs. So I know I have seen. Yeah, all that Tackle Warehouse says is a 10-pack. I have seen bags of like 50. I can't remember if it was in the Midwest or if it was at our local Cabela's down in Hartford, because Cabela's is always good about carrying Gitsits, but they make 50 bags, I believe, or 30 bags, something like that, bigger than 10.
Oh, yeah.
But they're good. The bigger bags, I do not believe come with the jig heads, but if you get a 10-pack, I think you get 2 or 3 jig heads with it.
Yeah, so there you go. You get, load up on plastics, change them out as needed. I've had, like I've said before, I've had these subscription boxes a bunch, and the one nice thing about these subscription boxes, like Mystery Tackle Box or Tackle Grab, or whichever one you choose to go with, is that oftentimes you'll receive a bait that you don't necessarily fish with any regularity. And sometimes if you're just looking to get out of your little wheelhouse and try something new, it's nice to have access to these things. Tubes were one of those things like 2 years ago. It was actually a Dark Horse tackle box that I had got some great tubes out of. Po' Boy baits, these really, really nice green pumpkin, purple fleck tubes, beautiful. But even better was the jig heads that they sent along with it, and they were a really huge wide gap with a ball jig on the inside, and they had instructions on how to rig them weedless. Game changer. Absolute game changer. Like they're really, really great, and they're nice. They're light too. So that drop, you get a nice darting action with it. Just kind of goes off. But I think I've heard before, and I just wasn't aware of necessarily the brand, but that like you're saying, like that gets it spiraling action as it goes down.
Yeah, it's crazy. It spirals right down. Yeah. I don't know any other jigs that do that like that. So, I don't really know where our laws lie with those jig heads currently. Yeah. I know that you can get, there's I know oh man, I know they're available. I don't know where. It might be Walmart. It might be Richard's Sporting Goods, but there are sample packs of Gitsits, and they come in like 5 colors. There might be 5 of each tube, and then a whole bunch of the jig heads, like 5 or 6 jig heads. If you're looking to try that out and you think that my 2 cents is worth more than 2 cents, buy one of those first and see what happens. Because then you got I think a root beer colored one, like a watermelon, that silver one I'm describing. I think there's one in like real dark brown, almost like a green pumpkin. They're kind of old school colors as in the 80s and 90s, not to the point. Modern colors, I think, really started popping up around late 90s, 2000 with the traditional green pumpkin that we're aware of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But give them a try. I think they're great. I do use other tubes still, but I always remember all the success I had with Gits. I kind of moved on and use those Ned rigs. And if I can keep them clean of weeds, I do that.
Oh, definitely. You want to take number 4?
Sure. And I actually own a couple of these up. I leave them up in Minnesota for obvious reasons. But number 4, the example, the best example of the spoon that Wired to Fish came up here with was the Johnson Silver Minnow. So that's a single hook spoon with a weed guard, a little wire weed guard. And I do keep a couple of those and a couple of because I mean, look, spoons are spoons, but weedless spoons are in kind of a different realm, I think.
Yeah.
I keep a couple of these and a couple of what are they called? Mepps Timber Doodles up in Minnesota.
Yep.
It's the same thing.
The same kind of design.
Silver or single hook with the weed guard. They work. Pike will hit them. They're shiny and they move. I mean, if you got to drag a spoon through weeds and you don't want to deal with the treble hook and the all the crap sticking to it, try one of these. They work.
That makes sense.
I don't know. I'm not going to look through my records to see how many pike I've caught on them, but I know it's been more than one. Every once in a while, I'll get a hair up my ass. Don't feel like working a crankbait anymore, and I'll be like, I'll throw the spoon around for a little while, see what happens.
You know, spoons are one of those baits that I have very, very little experience or even confidence with, because I'll find like oftentimes I'm throwing spoons like for trout, and it's not my first bait to go to. Lots of times I'm throwing like a really light, like an inline spinner, or even, you know, lots of times I'll just do like, sometimes I'll do like a float with, you know, just like a floating bait or something. Or even like lately, like I said, this year, all the trout I've caught have come on Ned rigs, you know, all of them. So, and I don't know if that's the show 'em something different school or what it is, but, you know, it's worked. All the spoons, though, that I've got are traditional with the treble hooks, you know, jigging spoons, that type of stuff. This looks like a totally different animal. And how large is that spoon?
I think they come in different sizes.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I have one that's probably about, I'm measuring with my fingers here, maybe 3 inches long.
Really? All right.
I'm clicking on the link right now to see if they have different sizes. Yeah, they got a 2-inch, 2.5, 2.75, 3.75. So I probably have either the two. I think I have the 2.5 or the 2.75, and they only come in 2 colors, silver and gold.
Silver and gold. That's all you need. You know, when it comes to flash.
Yeah. And those Mepps Timber Doodles, they come with my favorite trailers, those split double tails.
Yeah.
So you can throw those on there too. That's even crazier. But
I love
give them a whirl.
So the 5th one and the last bait that we're going to cover today, and I don't know that we've ever actually gone this route with one, is a craw. I don't think we've talked about a craw yet on Bait of the Week. But this one that Wired to Fish puts in here is the Jean LaRue Salt Craw. Interesting kind of body shape. It's kind of boxy in the body, and then has like a rounded, almost looks kind of like a almost like a Yamamoto curly tail grub without the tail. Like just that body.
It looks like the cross between your standard do nothing realistic clawed craw, not like a curly craw, like a rage craw or anything like that, or a craw that has basically 2 paddle tails for arms or shit like that. But it's a traditional claws. Yep. And it's got a boxy body, and then basically a rubber worm for a tail. This one's been around for a long time. Yeah. Does it have the year it was made on here? It does not. But this one has been around as long as I can remember, even I think to the early 90s. And it was basically a different take on the rubber worm. Yeah. On the plastic worm. Yep. So you had something that was craw, and this thing lends itself to being Texas rigged. I think this is one of those lures where I would get a pack of them every now and again. Yep. I remember I think the last pack of these I grabbed there was a specific pattern I was using, or a specific color that I was using in Oklahoma. I'll tell you, it was a watermelon with orange flake. All right. And I don't know why the fish can see that better in Oklahoma when the water's like chocolate milk. That seems like a clear water color to me, but whatever, they were biting it. And I was going to Bass Pro and getting every plastic. I did not care what the shape was. I didn't care what the action was. I bought every colored plastic with green and orange. And I remember getting a bag of these and I threw them around. I don't think I got anything on them. They did in Oklahoma, the place I was fishing, they wanted something with some action. So this is more of a do nothing. You know, the claws aren't going to flap around violently. It's just going to sink. Maybe you'll get a little motion, but it's subtle. So I have used them. Haven't had any luck with them. I don't know what to say.
I feel like I've used every craw out there. I love as a plastic. I love a craw bait. I do. X Zone makes a number of them that I really like. The Adrenaline Craw is one of them that I like. 6th Sense makes some that I really like. The Stroker Craw specifically has a nice, like, wider sort of body. It's just and shit tons of action. Sometimes you don't want that, you know. Sometimes you want to go. Although I found, like, sometimes when what I'll often do is I'll throw something that's got like I consider like the Rage Tail. You know how it's got the scoops on the edge of the claws that come up, that catch water, that give it that flutter, that action? Yep. I've actually taken my braid scissors and just trimmed those off to kind of kill it a little bit more and make it a little bit more subtle. Sometimes that's enough. You know, sometimes that'll do it. Sometimes, like a pickerel will do it for you and just, you know, nip them off. Sometimes, you know. I love using a craw as a jig trailer, whether it be on a swim jig or a flipping jig. I love them on Ned rigs, you know, tiny Ned rigs. The small, especially like the really tiny Z-Man craws.
Yep.
Oh my God, man. They're deadly in the cold weather. Deadly. I think that, you know, I've never even heard of this Gene LaRue one, but again,
it's an old one. I think whoever it was, look at the top of the article. I think the author was Jason Seelock. Did I get the name right?
Yeah. Jason Seelock.
So I'm guessing Jason Seelock is our age or older.
Probably.
Because the rest of this list, as it unfolds, you guys are going to hear a lot of classic lures that come up that we've talked about.
Oh, yeah.
So there was edition 1 for you. There's our take on this article.
Hell yeah.
Anytime I see an article with the best, I'm immediately going to be drawn to it with cynicism.
and you kind of
we figured we flesh it out a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's exciting. You know, we talk a little bit about these baits, and we get a little bit of input and then put our input on top of it. Like, you guys are getting so much input. So much input for you. It's like you're Johnny Five. You know what I mean? Some of you are going to get that joke, and some of you aren't.
I wasn't going to go in that direction. I was going to go in a much worse direction.
Yeah, I know. I said it up.
Of input. And you can't tee me up like that and expect
it's true.
Expect John Daly not to show up with beer in hand.
You got the exactly. Oh my goodness, guys. I think that about covers it for this first segment here, guys. Don't think that this is the end of the show, however, because we got so much more lined up for you guys. We have an amazing interview with Robert Drummond. Now, this is one of the most unique interviews I've done yet. Like, we're almost at 150 episodes. This is the most unique interview I've done yet. Robert has a great story, and he's in a unique position where he was much later in life, into his 30s, by a good clip, and met his biological father for the first time. And it was definitely like a little bit of a shakeup in his life, but the two seem to have forged a connection with fishing. And you can hear all the details there. We also talk a lot about music. We get real geeky with it. It's a lot of fun. Robert's really great. He's one of our jig heads. We appreciate him. Check it out. And after that, we have our friend Bill. Bill Galakis is jumping into this. We're going to get nerdy with you after this interview. So don't go too far, guys. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Much more Jigs and Bigs goodness coming up right after this. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form content. For all your premium kayak needs, we partner with Three Bells Outfitters, located along Smith Cove in Niantic, Connecticut. Three Bells is your go-to location for kayaks and accessories from Hobie, Native, Bonafide, Jackson, Yak Attack, Naqua, Boondocks, Burley Pro, and many more. Financing options are available to upgrade you and your kayak fishing experience. White glove delivery service is also available. Visit threebellsoutfitters.com for more info, and don't forget to tell them that Jigs and Bigs sent you. When it comes to high-quality polarized sunglasses, we've partnered with Torres. They provide stylish sunglasses in a variety of frames that are light and fit comfortably on your face. The polarization cuts glare and allows you to see the whole picture, helping you identify what's below the water's surface. They have a 60-day, risk-free trial, lifetime warranty, and free shipping. Plus, you can save yourself 10% with the code JIGSandBigs10 at checkout. Visit Torres.com to check out their selection. That's www.torege.com. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks. Jigs and Bigs is your favorite fishing podcast, right? Why not show the world how much you love the show while directly supporting us? We have men's and ladies' shirts, hoodies, and a variety of hats. We even have a waterproof outdoor Bluetooth speaker so you can listen to your favorite podcast while out on the water if you like. Check out jigsandbigs.com/shop to visit the store and gear yourself up. If you really can't get enough of this show, consider becoming a jighead and joining our Patreon. It's a subscription that gives you exclusive access to recording sessions that allow you to engage with us as we record the show. We also have some exclusive content there just for our jigheads and even have some special promo codes. Space is limited, so join now at jigsandbigs.com. Finally, if you're local to our area in Western Massachusetts, consider checking out the Western Mass Fishing Report, posted weekly at northeastwildwoman.com. We have amazing contributors providing great content and info for local conditions and what's been going on and working recently. Jigs and Bigs, so much more than just two lightly roasted hippies trapped in the 90s arguing on the internet about fishing. Alrighty, guys, Bobby Roast Beef here with another interview segment. I told you guys, man, this winter season, we have guests on guests on guests on guests, and we love it when we can mix it up. We've got a bunch of different types of guests coming in together. Like, you know, last week we had Roger on. He was our overlanding guy out on the West Coast, and now we've got Rob Drummond with us. And you may, if you're a jighead, if you're a member of the Jighead family, you might know Rob already because he's popped in here and there to some of our live recordings and stuff. And in fact, there was one episode where he was going ham, and we had a field day with him. And actually, we were looking forward to getting down to his neck of the woods out in Texas and doing some fishing. That's probably going to be on the docket next winter, is what I'm hoping for. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Rob, how the hell are you, man? How are things? How's everything going? You went out today fishing?
I'm doing good, Bobby.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier you were out fishing today with your son, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We went out, hit the river, and just see what was going to happen. We've been through a cold spell and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Below freezing temperatures down here in Texas. The fish just don't know what the hell to do. So it was unproductive.
You know, it happens that way. Sometimes that's just how it is. But, you know, at least you gave it a go. I'm trying tomorrow morning. I'd like to get out and find some moving water and do a little bit of fishing up here. We're in the weirdest situation here where we don't locally have what I would consider safe ice. So it's
right.
like it's just too thin to get any real ice fishing out there. In fact, most other people that I know aren't going out on the ice just yet. So I think we've probably got another couple of weeks at least. But, you know, this weekend is supposed to be up to like high 40s into the 50s. So who knows? It seems like every week we have this pop of warm weather and then it gets really cold again, and it never really gets to that level. But man, so I think tomorrow and maybe Friday I'm gonna go out. Then I've got some big events planned on New Year's Eve and stuff. So I'm not gonna be doing any fishing over the weekend. But
you're gonna be hitting some moving water, creeks, rivers type stuff.
That's my plan. I got 2 rivers in mind locally that I'm gonna go and hit. One of them is a great great trout spot, and the other one is pretty decent. Can produce some good smallmouth too. So we'll see what we come up with. You know, I don't know. It's who knows, man. Who freaking knows? But let's get into your story, and kind of, you know, introduce you to the Jigs and Bigs verse in a way, because even more than just the jig heads here. So let's talk, you know, getting back into it. Like my whole thing, I love starting all these interviews off. You just got to get an introduction sort of who it is that we're talking to, their sort of like experience in the outdoors and everything. I love a good origin story, so we'll start with yours. Why don't you go ahead and tell me how it was that you kind of got to this point where you're at right now? Who introduced fishing into your life? How did that sort of passion get instilled in you, and then get you to like where you're at today, where, you know, you're passing it on to your own kids?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Austin, Texas, the old capital, and I don't know if you remember this time, Bobby, but there was a time when parents could go to the airport with a small child, walk all the way up to the gate, hand that small child over to a flight attendant, and that child would magically fuck off to the Midwest for 3 months during the summer. And that's what my parents did to me.
Yes.
They sent me to Missouri, where my grandparents are, or were, every summer from the time I was about 5 to about the time I started high school. Midwest summers, you know how the fishing and outdoors culture is up there.
Oh yeah.
My grandfather is just a consummate outdoorsman, man. Like hunting, fishing, everything, man. And he taught me everything he knew, you know, a little bit at a time, you know, 5 years old.
Oh yeah.
You're doing pretty good to just pay attention to the bobber.
Exactly.
You know?
It's true.
But they had some property out in central Missouri. It wasn't a working farm, but it was a farm, you know.
Nice.
Place for my grandfather to go dick around and stuff.
Yep.
2 real nice farm ponds. He always had a John boat, you know.
Nice.
I'd come up one summer and it'd be a 12-footer. The next summer it'd be a 14-footer, you know. He's just always tinkering with that stuff and everything. But yeah, fishing that farm pond, man, just absolute slobby bluegill, man. Just all day, every day. Didn't matter.
Yep. That's
condition. The best. You're gonna catch bluegill out there. But I got a little bit older, and you know, it's like, you know, I wouldn't see him during the school year and everything, and he'd have a plan for what we were doing the next summer and everything. It's like, oh, he's a little bit older, he can handle a little bit more now, right?
Oh, exactly.
So yeah, it eventually got to, you know, trips to Lake of the Ozark, Bull Shoals Lake.
Oh, no kidding. That's awesome.
Doing some real crappie fishing and stuff out there. Catfishing, you know, once he knew I could handle a decent sized rod, you know, that was the big deal. That was the one that I took to a lot. Was soaking that cut bait, you know, on the banks of the Missouri or the Mississippi.
Yeah, exactly.
Catching some real size fish, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, 20, 25 pound flatheads.
Yep. For big fish.
10-year-old kid, like, good Lord, man.
At that age, that's an absolute giant right there. That'll get you fishing every year.
Right. Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
hell yeah, it will.
And it did for a while, you know, but you know, as with, you know, most people's stories in fishing, you hit it real hard, and then high school rolls around and girls and getting up to no good. For me, it was music, you know. I was in the high school band and everything, and that's a big time commitment during the summer times and everything. For sure. So it just kind of fell off, and you know, girlfriends and everything else. And I just, you know, didn't get to spend much time with my grandparents from that point, and the outdoors really wasn't a priority anymore.
Exactly.
Back on some of that, and like how much better I could have done. I mean, granted, I was a kid, but you know,
exactly,
you do what you can. But it's like, golly, man, I missed some opportunities there. You know?
That's what that's saying. Hindsight is 20/20. That's where it comes from. Because you look back and you're just like, man, if I would have been, you know, would have stuck to this, or I would have made these decisions before. It's nuts how everybody's got that story. You know, I mean, I don't know if I ever shared the story. There was a year I lived on a lake, a small lake here in New England, but I was renting a room in my best friend's house, and he lived on a lake. I didn't fish at the time. I never, ever got out there to fish. And now I look back, I totally kick myself. I could have been out there easily 7 days a week.
Yeah,
Easily.
man, that's brutal. Man.
Yeah, stupid.
Think back
move.
on that, man. Like now we take every opportunity we can, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
Yep.
Man, yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, as things, like got I got really into music. I ended up going and studying jazz saxophone in college.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And,
all right.
And tried to make a career out of it. It was never I never quite got over the line, but I played in, several bands in the Austin area and stuff, regular gigs and stuff. But, we're playing for beer money.
Sure.
Shit like that.
Yeah. It's tough when you're playing music, man, to make it really is. It's such a grind. Like my hat goes off to these guys that are out there gigging X amount of nights a week. Cause it is, man. And it's sometimes absolutely thankless.
Yeah, absolutely,
ridiculous.
man. And if that starts wearing on you and everything else, you're just never going to get it over the hump, you know?
Exactly.
And of course there's a good amount of luck that's involved there too, man.
For sure.
Like on actually getting that opportunity that's going to give you some real money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got married pretty young. I was about 24, I guess. We had our first kid and everything, and just life began lifing,
Yeah.
I started a career as a screen printer about 20 years ago now, and I'm still printing t-shirts to this day.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's all right, It's not bad, I enjoy the family life and everything.
Exactly.
But I guess it was about 5 years ago now, we moved from Austin to Houston. My wife's family lives here in Houston, and we, just have the kids closer to their grandparents and their cousins and stuff like that, while they can still really appreciate it and everything. So yeah, we moved to Houston, and we were at the time I was taking some time off of work to raise our daughter, to avoid the the daycare costs and everything.
Exactly.
Doing the stay-at-home dad thing for a couple of years, and the culture change for me moving from Austin to Houston was just
I believe it.
fucking giant, man.
Yeah.
I grew up plugged into culture and music in that town, and that's it's a situation of like 1,000 acquaintances, like
exactly.
You can't go anywhere without running into somebody, you always got something to do, somebody to hang out with. And I just don't know. I didn't know anody here.
Houston's a whole other animal. Exactly.
Yeah. It was, completely different deal. We were living a little bit out of town, and, I just became kind of a homebody.
Yeah.
And it was, it was depressing. I went through a fair amount of depression there for a little while.
Oh yeah. I believe it.
Wouldn't leave the house, became the, that, terminally online guy, which we all know is just not healthy.
It's not a good idea for anybody. No.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, out of the blue, I got a call from my my sister-in-law's husband.
Yep.
And he's like, "Hey man, I'm going out fishing on the bay. Do you want to come with?" Like I knew that his family had grown up here and everything. We're big, bay fishermen, inshore bay fishermen, redfish, trout, and stuff like that.
That's
but I
awesome.
hadn't gone with them before. And I'm like, well, shit, I ain't doing anything. Sounds like an awesome opportunity to get the hell out of the house.
Exactly.
So yeah, I went on my first inshore outing and caught my first redfish, my first
awesome.
sheep's head, and just had a blast, man. It was awesome. And we were just throwing like live shrimp most of the time, live mullet under a popping cork, and just it's a different kind of fishing, And
for sure.
When when a slot redfish, not even a giant one, a slot redfish takes that shrimp, you see that cork go under, man. On lighter tackle, like medium light spinning rod. Woo! That pulls some drag, buddy.
oh hell yeah!
That's not a kind of fishing that I'd done before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I got kind of fired up for it and everything,
For sure. Yeah.
I bought a couple of little spinning combos and everything, so I was ready to go next time he invited me out and everything. And I'm sitting there in my living room looking at these rods sitting in my living room, going like, "What the hell are you doing, Robert? You know how to fish?"
Just go.
Like you don't have to, wait for a boat trip in the bay. There's fresh water everywhere around here, man.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here living 5 minutes from a lake. Like, well, shit. Let's go. You know?
Let's
so
go
I started going a couple times a month, and mostly doing the catfish thing because it's what I'm most comfortable with. And started just pulling in eater cats every time I'd go. My son started coming with me, and a few months in, and I'm looking at the state of my life and everything, and I'm like, well, I'm not depressed anymore.
Yeah, now you got something. It's doing some positive for you, on top of a bunch of eater catfish.
Well, yeah, and we go out on the bay and everything, and my brother-in-law send me home with all the meat. I'd spent the past 3 years being depressed at home in the kitchen, really learning how to cook and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I have these fresh ingredients and stuff.
Yeah.
Learning how to cook redfish, learning how to do some stuff, So yeah, it's just kind of a wonderful little experience. The more and more I, got out there, the more I wanted to be out there. And it, a couple of times a month turned into a couple times a week.
There you go.
And thankfully my wife is super understanding.
That's awesome.
And she noticed what it did for me and my mood and everything. So she's not just understanding, she's downright encouraging a lot of times.
That's awesome.
Robert, get the hell out of the house. You need to go fishing. I don't like your attitude right now.
Exactly. When they see the benefit, and I think of eventually everybody, their spouse, their significant other, whomever there is in their life, once they kind of catch on that, like, oh, okay, so when they go and fish, they're just generally a better person. They're healthier. As far as in their own mind, like maybe there's a benefit for everybody. Just let them go fish.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Well, and it was really good. My kid is my son, he's an indoor kid, which is fine with me.
Sure. Yeah.
He takes care of his responsibilities. He's not always shoved in a video game, but he's shoved in video games a lot.
This is a great way to get him
the opportunity to get him outside and like, hey, wow, I actually like hanging out and being in the outdoors and stuff.
That's awesome.
That's an opportunity for me to pass on the stuff that was passed on to me by my grandfather.
Exactly, and just the connection that you guys are going to have, creating memories. Because I'm sure these trips to your local lake, they're eventually going to turn into you guys going and doing some of these bucket list fisheries that you've got, because a lot of them are right near you.
Yep.
And you just create more and more memories this way. It's like, it's the most important thing in life that we have are our memories,
Absolutely.
They really are.
And around that time, that's a good segue there. Because around that time I did we lost my grandfather. And he'd seen some pictures and stuff, and he'd had pretty severe dementia for a while, but he at least recognized me in the pictures, and seeing me fishing and stuff like that really made him happy.
That definitely
towards the end. I wish I could have got out and fished some more with him before he passed. But when my son was younger, he got the opportunity to go up there and go fishing with my grandpa, which was cool. So there's this whole generational thing there. But and then actually this is where the story gets kind of complicated. I got to go back in time warp here.
Okay.
To early childhood. Yeah, right. I come from, like so many people do, I come from a broken family. My mom and my dad, or the dad that I knew, they got married when I was 2.
Gotcha.
And I just didn't ever know my biological father at all. And my dad was the best dad, man. He was just an absolutely wonderful father. Couldn't ask for a better one. And he's the only dad I ever knew. But I guess it was a couple of years ago now, like as my mental state started getting a lot better and everything else, I had the thought pop into my head about possibly reaching out to my biological father. Like having kids and everything, I'm like, man, I wonder if he's interested in knowing that he's got grandbabies, And I'm sitting here like just petrified, terrified to do it, because I don't know how he's going to react.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if he even responds, like you just don't know what to think. And at 38 years of age doing that, it could be, I could put somebody else in a heavy situation, not just me.
Sure.
he has a family of his own and everything else.
There's a lot of moving parts there. Yeah,
there's
exactly.
a lot of moving parts there. But my dad and my wife were just super, super encouraging and finally convinced me to send him a letter.
Give it a shot. Yeah.
And I did. Yeah. I gave it a shot. And, man, like after a few months of correspondence and them just being that whole family, I have 2 sisters out there. They're both grown.
Yep.
Have kids of their own. I got 3 nephews and another one on the way. And these people like just quite literally brought us into their family, my whole family into theirs. And
wow.
A lot of this correspondence and just getting to know my father before we actually met in person was, catching up on life stuff. What do you do? What do you do for a living? What do you do for fun?
Yep.
Well, it turns out that the dude is an absolute avid bass fisherman in the Yadkin Valley in North Carolina.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, just avid bass fishermen. They live on a property where they have 2 neighborhood ponds. They're giant ponds, almost lake size, like right in their backyard. And he's out there every day, he's
awesome.
Just fishes. And I've never been a bass guy, not really. I caught a couple largemouth here and there, bull shoals and Lake of the Ozarks and stuff with Grandpa. Yep. But I started talking to him about how I'd been getting into fishing and everything else. Well, long story short, now my wife and I went up to see them Thanksgiving before last to just kind of meet everybody and everything.
Yep.
And test out the waters and everything. And then this past summer, the whole family went up there, and I've just had this kind of magical, surreal opportunity to like add these loved ones, this whole side of family into my life. Like
exactly.
And and so much of it has fishing as a background,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean,
like being able to just be out there with a man who is my father, who I'm getting to, just getting to know for the first time in my life. And we do it with fishing rods in our hands, like.
And what a great way to get to know each other. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like there's no better way than going fishing,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
No better way.
That's like the idyllic thing, for, like a father-son or a grandfather-grandkid relationship,
Yeah.
You always think about that, even outside of the people who are in fishing. It's just something you think of,
For sure.
like what do grandfathers and grandkids do together,
Yep.
They go fishing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and just having the opportunity to see my son
that's amazing.
like develop a relationship with his grandfather, and for them to do it with fishing rods in their hands,
it's so cool.
It's just about the most special thing that I've ever been privileged to see, man.
For sure.
It's just been pretty unbelievable. But yeah,
awesome.
So that's the nuts and bolts, man. Like that's the nuts and bolts of my story, and I just thought it was an interesting thing to share to a larger group of people, because I know there have to be people out there who are in similar situations and might be just as terrified as I was.
Oh yeah.
So out to estranged family, and
it's wild because there are like we said, there's a lot of moving parts there. If there was somebody, right, that was in a similar situation listening to this show right now, what would your advice be to them? Like something that maybe they should do before they reach out? Is there a conversation they should have? Is there a recommendation for anything? Are you telling them just to take the risk and go for it?
No, you have to have somebody on your side to support you already. Yep. For me, that was my wife, because there's so many of these emotions that come up,
For sure.
And thankfully it went really well for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it like best case scenario, but if it's not best case scenario, then you need to have some emotional support there ready. Because there any number of things can happen there.
For sure.
Like you could have just said, who the fuck are you? You are not my son.
Yeah.
Like jog on, but he didn't. And yeah, I do recommend finding a way to that place where you can reach out.
Yeah.
And for me, that was almost 40 years of my life that I had to sit there and think about this,
Yep.
It's like, why was this guy not around or whatever else? Turns out life happens, man. And
as we get older, it's easier to see that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's so tough. As you get older, you start to see how this you're like, of course, yeah, life is just crazy like that sometimes, and man, what an unbelievable story though. Like, seriously, that is absolutely
I
nuts.
really thought it was, I still think it is. It's still, I'm really close now with both of my sisters.
Yep. And that's
my baby
amazing.
sister. My baby sister wants to take me kayaking on the New River. She's like, "Oh, you've been kayaking before?" I'm like, "Yeah, a couple times." Like I've tried to get me into a kayak for fishing and everything else. She's like, "Oh, we need to go kayaking on the New River. Sign me up, man."
Let's go for it. Yeah, man.
Doing stuff with my sisters, with their families and everybody.
So cool.
It's just so cool to get to know these people and everything. And they just live in just one of the greatest area, fisheries on the East Coast there in that northwest section of North Carolina. There's just so much good water up there. We've got all the fishing opportunities in the world and opportunities to build some memories with this like brand new but somehow old family.
Has your dad ever caught any redfish?
Pops has not.
He has.
I refer to my my biological father as Pops.
Yep.
And my dad as Dad.
Gotcha.
So that gets confusing there.
No, I definitely see how it could.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But Pops is not. He hasn't done the inshore thing out in North Carolina yet. But we've talked about it for sure. Yeah. That would be really cool to get a charter out. Man, some of the redfish the past couple of years up there, just from the content I've seen on YouTube and stuff like that. Man, some of these North Carolina inshore trips are just amazing. Yeah. Man. They're pulling in slobs and just one after another, man. So
that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to get out and do that for sure.
Yeah,
but but he, being up there and kind of throwing around on his little ponds and stuff. I guess I need to get into bass fishing now. So
definitely.
I've been on this bass fishing kick for the past couple of years, and finding podcasts and YouTube and stuff like that. Y'all's content, just so many great resources. Like, I know how to fish, but this the bass fishing world is kind of intimidating.
Oh, dude, I felt the same way. I totally did. Yeah, because you're like, what is it about targeting these fish? And then you're when it's like, because I come from a live bait world,
right?
I'm all about throwing shiners or throwing worms, and it's just like, how in the world, what does a jig do?
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, come on. How does this catch fish? And then
we got this little frilly skirt son of a bitch. Like, what am I supposed to do with this?
And I'm like, come on, like a crankbait, like this giant bill hanging off the front of it. Like, what even is this? And I mean, here I am now. I'm like, when somebody says, oh yeah, I don't really have confidence in this specific presentation. I dive in. I'm more than happy to share whether it's a wealth or most times it's just a tiny little nugget of knowledge that I've got. That's it.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But whatever I can offer them, I try to. So it's awesome where it's like, what a different style of fishing. And I mean, I love it. Like this summer, I went out and I say this summer, technically this fall or winter, I went out fly fishing for the first time. And like, I just kind of want to do it all at this point,
Yep.
Like I think, really do.
I think fly fishing is going to be the only way that I can get my wife out to try it out with me. She's a super crafty lady, and she came across some videos, some fly tying videos that I'd maybe been watching on my YouTube. She's like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's do it, baby.
Let's try it.
If it means you're out there fishing with me, perfect.
That's all that matters, man, is just going out and having a good time, Let's talk, let's dive into the fishing element of it now. And let's talk as far as when you go out and you're doing fishing and you're out there, what is the season two? This question started out as like just one question, but it's kind of split into two. What's the season where you feel like you perform the best, but also what's your season that's your favorite for, creature comforts?
Oh man, springtime in Texas, man.
Yep.
Springtime in Texas is just beautiful. It's before it gets sweltering. And I'll fish year round, but that's something about that springtime, and the fish they're just turned on, especially this is this is gonna be my second spring coming up of bass fishing, and I just know like that springtime, 2022. Oof, man, like that's
a great
what
year, huh?
Gave me the staying power to keep at it.
That's awesome.
Like just catching fish every time you go out, man. Like, it's got to be springtime, man.
Dude, that's awesome. So your spring down there is probably like you probably start getting some good springtime action like that last week of March, huh?
Yep, absolutely.
That's
even
awesome.
Kind of mid-March.
Mid-March, yeah.
Yeah, mid-March, and of course, springtime only lasts for about 24 hours down here. You blink and it's over 100 degrees. But
yeah,
but there is a magical month and a half there where it's just real nice outside. If we can avoid just torrential downpours, because that's also
that's where you're getting all the rain,
especially out in Houston. That we got to deal with a lot of that tropical storm action.
Oh yeah, from the Gulf and everything for sure. That makes sense, man. Now, what about it? Like your especially now, specifically thinking like with bass fishing, what's your go-to presentation? Like your short list of confidence baits when you're like, I'm out, I'm having a rough day, but I got to get it done. What are you going to throw that you really have the most faith in?
Number one, Ned rig.
Yeah. Oh, that's my man right there.
Picked it up about 6-8 months ago, and it's just always tied on, man. Yeah. Always tied on. Yeah. Just the regular Z-Man TRDs, the finesse TRDs.
Yep.
Green pumpkin most of the time.
Yep. You throw generally you throw an open hook Ned rig, or you throw an EWG.
I'm not a huge fan of the EWGs.
Yep.
I probably just need more time with them.
Sure.
But I buy the Z-Man shrooms with the weed guards on them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, if I want to fish it open, I just take out the wire cutters and cut the weed guard off. It's the same thing. So yeah, that's what I usually use. That, nice. And I've started throwing the bigger ones, the mag shrooms around with the big TRD. Having a little bit of luck with that. Yeah. And then after that, it would probably be Texas rig.
You can't
Texas
miss.
Rig, either like a craw or a Senko.
You know what? One of the things that I always loved about just throwing a Texas rig is if I really don't know, like if I got to figure out a spot, or maybe I'm just playing like what I call the color game. Lots of times I'll just do this with a Ned, or even like a weightless soft plastic or something. But like if I'm throwing into like some wood, something like that, and I want to throw into cover, I'm pitching into cover or something, I'll put on a Texas rig versus a jig, and I'll play that color game, just changing out that plastic. I'll keep my wallet, my plastics wallet out of my bag. Like I'll just put it on the ground right next to me. And I'm like, okay, cool. So this isn't working, or maybe I got a bump, what do I have to do? If I find myself in that, and that's where for me, I think a Texas rig is great because number one, you can change up so much about it by just changing out that plastic,
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the difference, what I'm starting to notice, the more I experiment with different soft plastics and everything, is that the difference in an action just between brands, too. The Yamamotos are like just known for having so much action for a Senko, for a stick bait, but that sometimes you don't necessarily want all that,
No, exactly,
you throw on something a little bit stiffer, like the Yum plastics I find are a little bit stiffer, And it's like literally like you could go from a 5-inch Senko to a 5-inch Yum Dinger. They're same dimensions, relatively same color, and the presentation is just completely different.
I find the same thing, man. Like if we're talking creature baits, like a Rage Bug has a shit ton of action. But then I throw like a missile D-bomb, and I think with the missile D, actually I have one right in front of me, a baby D-bomb anyway. They don't have that lip around the claws that come off the top, so they don't catch water, and they're a little bit more like a chunk. As far as the way the action is concerned. But yeah, you're right. Like you can play around with that so much by rigging up a Texas rig. My favorite thing that I try to tell everybody is like, if I really don't have a clue, I rig up a Texas rig with like a relatively lightweight, like a quarter. Nothing crazy, like a 1/4 ounce weight with a bobber stop, because it's a whole lot easier to slide that bobber stop up 12, 14 inches and then have some play in there than it is to cut that off, pop the bobber stop on so I can peg it, different. And you can mess with it so much. So, it's like, I really do. I think that you can't go wrong with throwing a Texas rig. I feel like a lot of times people overlook it, because they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to throw a jig in here. I do all the freaking time, It's bananas.
Well, and that would take me to the third one, which is, I mean, if you would have asked me this question a year ago,
be different story.
I would have told you square bill. Yep, I would have told you square bill.
Oh yeah, okay.
I still do all right with the square bill, but man, jigs this year.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've just been having so much fun, like just experimenting, like
Yeah.
I mean, especially once you realize like how much the word jig encompasses.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got your traditional style jigs, you got football jigs, you got I really like the 6 cents hybrid jig.
Oh yeah, those are great.
You can do like 4 or 5 things with it. You know?
Yeah. Hey, the beauty is I've got this one hybrid jig that's 3/4 of an ounce. And that's my, oh shit, it's deep, or like I got to punch a little bit jig,
Yep.
Like for pads.
Yeah, I was throwing a 3/4 ounce at the river today, man. Yep. Just to cover a lot of water. I was out there really trying to catch some catfish, on the table, but I was kind of trying to cover as much of the river as I could with the jig today. Didn't have any luck, but I like being able to do that.
Exactly.
You can finesse a jig, you can power fish it.
Yep.
Hell, a chatterbait's a jig, right?
Yeah, exactly. I always say the same thing. I mean, you got. I mean, there was a guy. I think his name is Skip Bryant, and he was at an expo near us. He was doing a seminar, and he was talking about jig fishing. So my buddy and I. It's a great little story. My buddy and I go in there, and we were a little medicated when we went into this thing.
Right.
So we go in, and he's talking about jigs. He goes, really, so how much of fishing is jigs? Like, you're talking about a weight that's attached to a hook. He goes, so you've got your traditional, like your Arky style jigs, football head jigs, things that you assume are jigs. He's like, all your Ned rigs are jigs. He says, all of your, he goes, your spinner baits, those are jigs. They're just jigs with wires and blades. He says your chatterbaits are jigs. Your swim jigs, also jigs. They're all like, that's basically what it is. And he goes, and you can do so much with all of those things, and he was telling us, he goes, a question came up. Somebody goes, yeah, but like, what's your advice for like when you have a tick? Like if you think like you might be getting a bite. And he goes, and this is when I was asked to leave. He goes, the rule of thumb is when in doubt, pull it out. And I could not stop laughing like an adolescent. So I was asking, hey, did you mind waiting outside till you kind of gather it together? And I was just like, yeah, I'll be back. This was like February
hilarious.
2020. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
That's fucking funny, dude.
Oh, man.
Yep. The jigs, man. The other thing with the jig is I'm doing the inshore stuff for the redfish and the trout and everything. Yeah. That's the go-to presentation is a super light, like 16th or 8th ounce jig head with the paddle tail, soft plastic on it, That makes sense. So, I'm sitting here going like, well, how much different is this than the thing with the skirt on it that you're throwing for the bass? Yep. And the answer is not a whole lot, you know? I can kind of transfer over the same techniques, and I have them. Sure. And hell, sometimes I'll just take out one of them tiny little saltwater jigs and throw a like one of the like divine swim baits on there and just fish it like I would out in the ocean, man.
For sure.
And just bouncing a swim bait off the bottom. It's great. Yep.
Oh, absolutely, man. And bump it up against cover, man. That's the way to go. What's your preference as far as bodies of water goes? Do you lean towards smaller ponds so you can squeeze like covering an entire body of water in a day, or are you looking for like big lakes so that you can dedicate time to them, or are you one of those river rats where you're all about current? If it's moving, that's where you want to be.
Well, I would say I'm more of a still water guy.
Gotcha.
But I'm a bank fisherman. Like, unless I get the opportunity to go on somebody else's boat or whatever. I'm a bank guy. So you have more opportunities, I guess, for access, at least here. Yeah. With ponds, lakes, that stuff. But that said, the past couple months, I've been fishing the shit out of this creek over here by me. And I'm just having a blast. I
That's
can walk.
awesome.
I can walk down this creek maybe 3-4 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't do that every time I go out. That's a heck,
that's
heck
a
of
lot.
a hike.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of bank access that I can play with. And there's all sorts of different conditions out there, like different kind of materials and structure and everything all along this creek. I've been having a blast doing that, man.
That's freaking
Even
awesome.
put on the big boots and get out there in the water and do some wading and stuff.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's been a lot of fun. And I'll go like I did today. I'll go out to the river, but if I'm doing river stuff,
Mm-hmm.
usually it's soaking cut bait for catfish.
Yeah, exactly. You get flatheads out near you?
Yes, we do.
Nice.
Not as many as I would like, but we do have them.
That's awesome, man. Friggin',
I
that's
haven't
on my
caught a
bucket
big
list.
one. I haven't caught a big one yet since I've been back at it. I'm having trouble finding big ass fish, Bobby.
Yeah, well,
Either
join
that
the
or
club,
they're just
man.
not eating what I'm throwing them. I seem to have plenty of luck catching fish.
Yep, well, that's
Just,
good.
I'm waiting on some monsters, man.
Getting on the
I know
bigs.
it's just a matter of time. I'm waiting on a big catfish, waiting on a big bull red,
Mm-hmm.
and waiting on like a real respectable, one of these Texas bass that I hear so much about
Oh yeah, it's
in
all
my backyard.
it's all a numbers game. You just got to keep going. And that next, it's funny. I think it was Wild Bill Fishing. A good friend of the show had said one time, we were having a conversation. I think it was in a group chat, and it came up, and I a bunch of us were basically belly aching about the fact that hey, I got to start catching fish. It started this year off. I'm like week 3 on a skunk. What is going on here?
Yeah.
And I'm one of those guys. I like to go out between 2 and 4 times a week. Like even if it's for like an hour or two, I'm gonna go and grab that time and get out and fish.
Same here.
And Bill made the point, and I remember this. He was like, he goes, I don't really mind getting skunked so much. He's like, all it means is that next trip is that next opportunity where you're going to break that skunk, and it could be an absolute giant. And the week after he said, or maybe 2 weeks after he said that, I was like, yeah, I like that, man. I'm going to adopt that way of thinking. I went out with a good friend of the show, Chris DeBari, and I caught my PB.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like,
Nice.
obviously, it was just like, it happened to work out that way. But I'm like, that is such a great way to keep it in your mind. Like, hey, next time we're going to get them. That's it.
Yeah, that's a great attitude to have.
Yeah,
And if
it really is.
as with most things in your life, if you go into it with a good attitude, you're gonna a lot less of a likelihood that you're gonna end up disappointed.
Exactly. Go in with it, with thinking positively and and making it work. And the beauty of it is you always have that next trip to go and do it. I do still find myself if I go, but summer, I was catching fish, but I couldn't get really any real quality. Like the where I dedicated most of my time. Like I think this year the biggest fish I got out of here was 18 inches, and it was late in the season.
Wow.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, I got more species out of this one body of water than I initially had been targeting. Like I got my first bowfin, and there's
cool.
little things that I've been kind of like really trying to, like just mile markers. That's how I look at it. Just hey, we did this.
And that's one thing that I really appreciate about you and Shawn is that the podcast it's got a multi-species bent to it. Y'all are bass guys, but like the tournaments and everything, there's it's multi-species stuff, and there's not a lot of guys out there in the bass world that are willing to even give time to them toothy buggers you got up north or the catfish or anything else, But I really appreciate that y'all keep that multi-species angle in there,
I'll tell you, the one thing that I am really, really fired up about with the first multi-species tournament that launches for 2023 is I am looking to put a hurting on the carp rig that I picked up.
Yeah.
That could be some points that would help. 100%.
Absolutely, man. No, it will be, man.
And
those are big fish.
They are, and I'm thinking it could be probably the first year if I can get on enough of them where I could make it work in the NE5. That NE5 category is like money. And in fact, I think Shawn mentioned something about adding a category for you.
We were talking about drum.
Yeah, and he was like, because I can add drum, and that'll include redfish in there. And I'm like,
redfish, black drum.
Yep.
I mean, the inshore stuff is redfish and black drum. Those are the big ones. Then, of course, the freshwater drum.
Yep.
Yeah, a drum's a drum, man. If we had a category in there, that would open it up.
I think
a lot for the for the folks down here
definitely.
and on the southern east coast that do the inshore stuff.
And we're trying, man. We're trying to put something together to get this to grow. I mean, we've been doing about I want to say somewhere between 20 and 30 anglers somewhere every single month that we've done it, like especially through like the main heavy months of fishing where people are out there. A little bit on the fringe. Usually it comes in strong, but when you get into the fall, it might get a little bit slow, depending again on where some people are. But I think we're going to do this year is try to make a real push to try to get some folks in, maybe even. I got a few ideas bouncing around to kind of like build it up, because I would love to see a couple of these where we can get like a few hundred anglers all over the country doing something like this, just having fun and, you know, and just blowing it up. You know, I think it could be pretty amazing. So, yeah. I mean,
I haven't done one of the tournaments yet, but y'all stopped. Like I bought my catch board, and then it was like, yep, we're wrapping up the last tournament of the year. I'm like, son of a bitch, I forgot. There's a thing up north called ice.
Well, we are doing. There was talk about doing. I think it's chronic trips for 2 months, where it's basically going to be like January, February, or something along those lines, or maybe it's February, March, where it's going to include obviously ice. But the thing is, with chronic trips, it includes salt as well. Right, so it works really, really well for a lot of people. So, and we alternate them back and forth, but I mean they're very similar with the point structure and everything. So, yeah, we'll fool around with it. We'll see what we can come up with, you know. But
yeah, I'm excited.
It'll be a whole lot of fun. You know, there's that saying, especially you'll hear it a lot around the fishing, around the tackle shops. Maybe actually, I think you'll hear it more from the wives of fishermen. But in your opinion, what do you think the most like ridiculous trend is that the tackle industry has offered up to us?
I don't know if I'd call it a trend, and I don't even know if it's particularly egregious, but it kind of hits with a general pet peeve of mine.
Yep.
I don't typically like things that come in the packaging saying this is ready to go, you know, like you don't have to do anything. And the ones that bug me are the Berkeley pre-rigged paddle tails. Have like the weight inside of them and everything. Like I've seen those. Yeah, I have some right here. Yeah. The Berkeley power bait pre-rigged paddle tails irritate the shit out of me, because I got some when I first got into the bass fishing. I'm like, okay, let's get some freshwater stuff. This looks kind of like something I throw in the saltwater already. I'm like, this thing is the most dead bait I've ever thrown. Like dead soft plastic bait I've ever thrown. It has no action. There's only one way to rig it.
Yeah.
And if it's damaged, then you're
done.
Pre-rigged bait. You can't do anything with it. You know, like you can't reuse that hook. You can't do anything else with it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of irritating with me. It's like, how hard is it? How hard is it to just buy a jig head in a paddle tail or a belly weighted hook in a paddle tail? Like there's this whole wonderful world of things you can do with paddle tails.
Yeah, I'll tell you, especially for that type of presentation where it's only a couple of parts.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I feel like people, that's just meant to catch somebody like, oh wow, I don't have to do anything to it. I can try that, see if it works. And then somebody will go out there and throw around that dead paddle tail that doesn't freaking move and be like, well, I guess paddle tail fishing's not for me. No, you missed out on this whole world of different paddle tail rigs that you could put together, you know?
For sure. Especially
like I said, I don't know if that's a trend, but it is something that kind of irritates me.
I could see that. I mean, I think that there's a time and a place for pre-rigged stuff. Like when I bought my carp stuff, I bought a bunch of these carp rigs, these hair rigs that are already tied, ready to go. I just put them on my leader and I'm good to go. But that's because this is complex shit that I haven't figured out how to do on my own.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's
well, I'm not. We're not talking about tying shark leaders here. You know what I mean? It's not that hard to thread a paddle tail onto a jig head.
Definitely not. Something like that. Yeah. Like, you're better off picking out the jig head you want, like the one you're like, these I like these. I like the gap in the hook, or I like whatever. I like the 90 degree. You know, this way you get the customization, but you also get to mess around with a bunch of different plastics, because you got that terminal tackle. You can say like, well, let's try a Kitech. Let's try one of these big bite swim baits instead. Something a little bit stiffer, or fool around with a bunch of different shit. And Yeah, that's a really good point. I never really thought about that.
Like, you have three different size jigs, three different size paddle tails, three different actions of paddle tails,
And all the combinations
just
within.
in that kit, all the combinations of different movements and actions and presentations that you can come up with, or you can do the Berkeley pre-rigged paddle tail that only does one thing. I'm like, I just don't see a place for that in a tackle box, man.
Exactly.
Like, I don't see it.
No, that makes sense. One of the things that I love about fishing more than anything is that sense of community that you get with it. Let's say in your, the right group of people can make a terrible day of fishing the best day of your life,
Absolutely.
So in your, if there were three people that you could fish with, who would they be? And they could be pro anglers. They could be folks that you actually know. They could be celebrities that you don't even know if they fish, whatever it might be.
I think you know where I'm going to go with this. My whole deal is about family, man. Like, it's this whole fishing thing. Just it wouldn't have happened without family.
Yeah,
and it's the reason why I'm just so excited about what the future has for me fishing. Is I get to do it all with my family.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
number one would have to be I'd love to fish with my grandpa again.
For sure. Yeah.
That would have been amazing.
If you didn't say that, I was going to remind you like that. Actually,
right.
number one.
No, that's number one right there.
Yep.
And then the other two are my pops and my dad.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's been so long since I fished with my dad, and he was actually the one that when I was in high school, he went on a little bass fishing kind of thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Some buddies with bass boats and everything. I never was into it or anything. It was all like tournament stuff. He was co-angling for them, and I just did not get the point. Like, well, what is fishing supposed to be relaxing? Like I had grandpa's fishing in my head, and competition fishing just did not make sense to me at the time.
For sure.
I went out with him once, and I'm like, nope, not doing that again. But yeah, he actually has a background in bass fishing. I'd love to get out there, go fishing with him again, and then
definitely.
My pops, who I'm just now getting to know. As much time as I can fish with that dude, the better, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's freaking awesome, man. I love it, dude. Is there like a dream destination you've got, like a lake that you would just love to fish?
Well, yeah, this is the one right up the road of 100 or 200 miles, man. Sam Rayburn.
Sam Rayburn, really?
Rayburn's just north of here. I mean, it's just prime for a weekend trip.
Yeah,
right
gotcha.
there, man. They got monsters over there,
Yep.
So Rayburn close, and then like I would really like to do the whole Florida thing, the inshore fishing in Florida.
Oh yeah.
Go out there and target some snook and I mean everything else that we have here, just in greater numbers.
Florida numbers, exactly.
Clear water, beautiful clear water.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that has a whole lot to do with it, man. I freaking love it. So getting into a category or a discussion that this show is no stranger to. Let's talk food. Because if you're, you could be out on the water and you could be doing your thing and, maybe you had a great day and you want to go celebrate with a good meal. Or maybe the polar opposite happened and you had an absolute garbage day. You couldn't buy a bite if you needed to. If you were like, here's my credit card, please, the tug is the drug, let's go. Sometimes you just need to drown your sorrows in whatever meal it is that you're looking forward to. So we're always on the lookout for like those local spots that are nearby. Where do you either celebrate or drown your sorrows after you're done fishing?
Well, I'll tell you what, in the right time of year, during crawfish season, it's the Crawfish Shack in Crosby, Texas.
Sign a bitch up.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Best crawfish I've had that wasn't in Louisiana, and they all come from Louisiana anyway. The guy who runs the place operates a crawfish farm in Louisiana.
Gotcha.
The rest of the year when he's not running the restaurant during crawfish season here. But if it's crawfish season, then I want get me 4 or 5 pounds of mud bugs and let me go to town for an hour, drink some cold beers and relax after a day of fishing,
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
There was I've talked about this a couple times on the show. Was it last summer or the summer previous? Right at the tail end of summer, I took a trivia night on my regular rotation at a place called Crazy Seafood, and it just because of the floor plan of the place and the the layout, it just didn't really work out, which was an absolute shame. Plus, the fact is, at a seafood joint, you have people that are ordering these giant seafood boil bags, and they're like, they got butter and juice everywhere, and just like the buzzing in, playing trivia while you're doing that, it's just not conducive. So we maybe made it like 4 or 5 weeks before I was like, guys, this isn't working out. But they were always great to me. They'd send me home with a couple pounds of crawfish and all the goodies that went along with it, and they did this thing where they called it crazy sauce, where it was every single sauce and seasoning they had. So you had garlic butter, Cajun, you had mild, medium, and hot variations, all of this mixed together. It was out of this world. I ate like easily, some nights even, I think like 3 pounds of crawfish. I would throw those down shirtless in my kitchen with the dogs just staring at me like I was some kind of a freaking wildebeest. And I'm throwing
That's how you gotta eat crawfish.
100%.
That's how it's done. Shirtless, in the kitchen. Don't even have to sit down. And if it's spicy enough, you just sit there and sweat over your bowl of empty shells. And
it's better that way. I felt more like a just a fat, bloated St. Lawrence River Smalley than ever in my life before. I was just like, I think I get it. And I mean, I was just, I love crawfish. I gotta find a good source up here to just get like a ton of crawfish and do a boil. Because
you got to find somebody who's a transplant from down here. A good bayou fella who knows how we do it down here. I don't know. I've heard some horror stories about some Old Bay crawfish up there. I'm like, oh no, that's not what you do to that.
I mean,
don't do that.
Old Bay is nice and the right kind of thing, but you can't fuck around.
For a regular, a seafood boil or whatever.
Exactly.
But if you're doing crawfish, man, the Cajuns just got it figured out, man.
You got to throw that
whole Acadian thing, man.
Yep.
They just got it figured out. Man.
Yeah. No, I freaking love it, dude. I love it. Yeah, so crawfish. All right, noted for sure. So let's go ahead. We'll get right to this because every angler's got a couple of stories here. So like, imagine you're at like a wedding or something. You meet somebody for the first time, and they're like, "Oh, I hear you fish." Like, we want you to share that story that you would share in that situation. The moment you're most proud of. Maybe it's a PB. Maybe it's just like your greatest story. But then on the other side of that, we want the biggest moment you've ever had on the water.
All right. Okay. Well, I don't think either of these are going to be bass stories.
It's okay.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Nothing wrong with that.
I've been at this bass fishing business for just more than a little over a year now. So, honestly, I just have a good time every time I go bass fishing. But I haven't, caught any giants or anything else. I'm just pretty consistent, but I guess the probably most memorable moment would have to be from childhood. I think I was probably 12 years old or so, 11 or 12 years old, and it was the first time that my grandpa had taken me out to Bull Shoals Lake.
Yep.
And we were going out to do nighttime crappie fishing.
Oh, that's awesome.
He was like, I think you're old enough. Don't necessarily tell your mom that I kept you up all night long out on the water fishing, but at 11 years old or whatever. But he's like, I think you're old enough. You can handle it. You take a good nap, you'll be okay. And we went out in his little 14-foot John boat. And do you remember those shop lights that were in like a styrofoam casing,
yes.
They would just float, you just float them on the top of the water. Had one on either side of the boat, and getting some deep. We got into some deep water up next to kind of the cliff area, and just the whole deal of like setting up to do this kind of fishing that I'd never done before. Just jigging for crappie at nighttime under the lights and everything. It was just kind of an exciting experience to get going and everything. And he's like, "Oh, just wait until the sun goes down." And sure enough, man, it was every time we'd just drop a jig straight off the side of the boat with either a jig or just a shiner, shiner on a little bit of weight, drop it down about 25, 30 feet down, and boom, every time, just slab crappies to the point where I'm like, fish that we would normally keep. He's like, no,
For sure.
we're going to catch enough. Throw that one back.
Yeah.
We're going for the big ones, and
Gotcha.
man, we must have caught 40, 50, just big crappie that night. But right in the middle of the night, around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I think, we had a thunderstorm blow in, and it was not pretty. And we're sitting out here in the middle of this big giant lake, and it's coming down, and you see lightning in the distance, and he's, being trying to not freak out the 11-year-old kid, on the boat, but do the responsible thing, which was to get out of this deep area of the water and find somebody's boat slip, an empty boat slip or something that we could go in, because we're not making it back to the launch at that point, like not before it gets really bad. So yeah, we had to buzz out, and I'm a little fucking scared at this point, with all this lightning and stuff, being on the water in a metal John boat, but yeah, we got ourselves into somebody's little boat slip and everything, and just started waiting it out. I just started dropping my line back in with the shiner, for sure, just under this purchased boat slip, and I start catching bluegill like crazy, big ones.
Nice.
Big giant bluegill. So I'm sitting here, we're in a boat full of like 35, 40 crappie already. And then we're all of a sudden loading up on these big giant bluegill. And yeah, like we're sitting here. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen that many fish in a night. And as a kid being in that situation where
even more amazing,
it was kind of sketchy, the storm and everything had me freaked out. Everything. Finally, the weather cooled down and everything. Grandpa was like, "Well, I guess it's time we made it back over to the boat ramp."
Freaking amazing.
Unless you still want to go fishing.
Yeah, he's like,
yeah, let's go in. Yes, let's keep going. At that point in time, we're just throwing everything back because we have our limit. We have
exactly.
We have the limit, but and we went kind of back out to where we started, and except this time without the lights because the sun's coming up and everything, and just kept on going. Probably caught another 15 more fish before he's just like, "All right, Robert, I'm tired. We're going home."
Yeah, that's freaking nuts, man. That is awesome.
It
dude.
It was pretty awesome. It was pretty fun.
Like when you go, that's the thing. When you're going out crappie fishing and you're harvesting, like that's the end goal is the mighty golden crispy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yes.
That's what you need. You need.
And my grandma knew how to do them up right too, man.
Best.
She knew a fish fry.
Hell yeah. I love that, dude. Now, what about the epic fail?
Okay, this one happened pretty recently. Just
those are the best.
3 or 4 months ago, and this goes into a lesson too. So,
okay.
I'm only recently getting back into fishing and stuff, and there's so much to learn, right?
Oh, for sure there is.
But you don't necessarily get the manual full of all of the do's and don'ts before you start going out. Some things you just gotta experience as they happen, right?
Yep.
Well, I'm out on the lake, the local lake here at one of my spots, and I'm soaking cut bait for catfish. Doing pretty good, having a good day. Getting 30, 45 minutes or so. But I'm casting this cut bait way out past where I know the drop off is in the lake. So I've got 3-4 lines out there. I think that day I had 4 out there. 4 of my big catfish rods sitting out there, and I'm watching the birds as I always do. There's ducks and stuff. We have a crazy amount of birds down here: egrets, ducks, ibises, herons, everything else. And you don't want a bird to get caught in your line, right?
Exactly.
But you don't necessarily think about it until you're in the situation and you're like, holy shit, that bird is like, is that going to hit my line?
Yeah.
Like, can I react before it does and everything else? So I try to pay pretty close attention to that. And I'm looking at this big group of ducks, like, okay, that's where they're at. But out of the other corner of my eye, one that I hadn't seen, a mallard comes flying low right there and hits 65-pound braid that's sitting out there, and it stops dead. Like it it's immediately falls to the water, and this thing is just flailing around like crazy, and squawking and everything else. And I'm in a situation I've never been in before. I don't know what to do. I don't know what the rules are, and I don't know if this thing's like strangled by my braid or what. Like I did the exact wrong thing, the thing you're not supposed to do, and I cut the line. Cut the line. And I didn't know that was the wrong thing to do.
Yep.
But I had cut the line, and then I'm sitting here. This duck is on the water, tangled in my braid, flapping around, squawking around, and tied to 3 ounces of lead plus a big old chunk of half a bluegill down there.
Yep.
Not flying off with that down there, and I just sat mortified for like 10 minutes, just like looking around, and I started bringing up on my phone like numbers for animal control, parks and wildlife. Like I need to call somebody. This is not a good situation. I just freaking killed a duck with fishing line.
Exactly.
And I was just absolutely mortified. I was about to hit the number to call animal. I don't know who you control. Does animal control have a water division? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But and I was about to hit the number to call these people, and the duck had kind of chilled out for a minute out there, but he's still obviously stuck. And then all of a sudden he just flapped his wings a couple of times and off he flew. Like,
that's awesome.
Like the most, it's a terrible experience. It's definitely one of my worst experiences ever fishing. But thankfully it did have a good ending. He didn't seem injured or anything. He seemed like he was flying just fine and everything else. And it was a lesson learned on what to do there. You're supposed to actually not cut the line and gently reel them in, untangle the bird, let it go. I just had the wrong reaction. Man. Yeah, I had the wrong reaction. It was really bad.
But the benefit is like you said, there's a lesson. You learn the right thing to do there. There is a good video from ND Yak Angler where he is. It wasn't him that snagged this bird. It was a big heron, and there was somebody had, obviously like just bombed a cast and landed their bait up in the tree. And there was all this loose fishing line, this braid up at the top.
Yeah.
So what he was doing was he'd actually taken, I think, a sinker and tied it around his, just tied it on his line, like something with big line, and tried to cast up over it. And I think what he was trying to do is to actually shake off the very end of the branch where this fish, because the tree was dead, so he's just trying to like shake it off from the water, and he did. Ultimately, he ended up getting the bird down into the water, put the bird in the net, brought it over to a real shallow area, and ended up untangling it and letting it go. And I'm just like, who has in that kind of a situation, like I guess if you've watched ND Yak Angler, he's like zen with the entire body of water. Like he's like the Bob Ross of fishing videos.
Right. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
if there's a guy out there that I think would have the ability to do this and keep a cool head, it's definitely him. But I'm like, there's no way I would even think like about my God. You know what I mean? And because I'll tell you, like my first reaction 100% would be like, oh yeah, cut the line, get the tension off this bird.
Right. Yeah. That was my thought. Right?
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's wild, man. Huh.
Yeah, so that was, I don't know if that counts as a womp, womp, womp.
I mean, it does, but there's definitely a positive to it. Like, there's definitely a good element there. So I can't believe I missed. There's one question. I got a musician on the show, and I did not ask the question about what is it that you're listening to get pumped up on your way to the water or while you're fishing?
Oh man, it just depends on my mood. I go through phases. I really go through a lot of phases. Like right now, I'm listening to a lot of like modern folk and Americana stuff.
Oh yeah,
like Jason Isbell.
Oh
and,
yeah.
Like Sturgill Simpson. I really enjoyed his bluegrass,
Yep.
his 2 bluegrass albums that he
Yep.
put out recently. That was really cool. But man, sometimes I'm in a metal mood. You know, I grew up playing metal music. I'll
Yep.
throw on a Tool record or
For sure.
you know, Metallica. I know you and your daughter have been having a Metallica journey. I'm having the exact same thing
Isn't it the
going on with
best
my
thing
son right
ever?
now. Yeah,
Oh.
it's awesome. Like, so we've been getting really into Metallica stuff. You know, thankfully, he's like, I'm showing him everything. I want him to make his mind up and everything. But already his favorites are Master Puppets and Justice. Which are, I'm like, yes, you nailed it.
Good. That is awesome, man. It's funny too. You mentioned bluegrass. Like this whole summer, I have been really into like just to kind of set the mood. I'll put my phone and let it play on the speaker, and I'll put on like a lot of Bela Fleck. A lot.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, a lot.
Oh, man, he's so great.
It's unbelievable, man.
That man he's a treasure. I listened to him on a podcast recently, Rick Rubin's podcast, I think it was.
Oh, all right. Okay.
And he had a great interview with him, man, and he just seems like an absolute sweetheart of a man.
Yeah.
And just a never-ending font of knowledge on banjo playing, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. He just makes the banjo like seem so much more excited than the banjo has any right to be.
No, for sure. He totally takes like this instrument that everybody thinks of like, you know, just hillbilly culture and everything, and he adds this level of elegance to it that's like, oh, wait a minute, hold on a second. You know, like it's totally unexpected.
Yeah. It's jazz is what it is. He adds jazz to the banjo.
Yeah.
And even when he's not playing, like, because he started out, I think his whole thing was literally just making the banjo a jazz instrument.
Yeah.
But then he like just opened it up. It seems like every album that he's put out over the past 20 years has a different theme to it. You know, you can't pin him down in a genre, you know?
No, for sure.
And he just plays with the Fleck tones are just one of the greatest bands in the world as far as musicianship. There was just pure raw talent.
This past October, I was doing an event, corporate event, for this great account, local bank nearby. They're so good to me, and they were having their 150th anniversary, their 150th celebration of this bank. So they're like, you know, we want you to be the DJ for it. We're not going to do a game show or anything, but we're going to have a small jazz trio playing during cocktails. And, you know, I was running this like photo booth software where people were taking pictures and texting them to the screen. I'd make a couple announcements here or there. And the first song I opened up with when I started playing once dinner was served was it was Bela Fleck, and I think it was the cover of Michelle, the Beatles song.
Oh, fantastic cover, man. That's a good one.
It's so good. And I personally love the chromatic harmonica on that. It's so good.
Yes, man.
I'm playing this, and the bass player who I had a conversation from the jazz trio, the bass player who I had a conversation with as I was loading in, nice guy, comes up and he was like, "Great song, man. That's my favorite bass player." And I said to him, I was like, "That's cheating. Victor Wooten is everybody's favorite bass player." I'm like, come on.
I'm a bass player myself, and yep.
Victor Wooten's the man.
Absolute cheeseball answer, man. You can't say that.
Oh, so good. I got a good laugh out of him, but man, it was dynamite. That's freaking awesome, man. Yeah, it's funny. Like I like Bela Fleck this year. A lot of the Dead, which I never in a million years thought I would be the guy who would say that. For that, I like to listen to while I'm fishing. Yeah, I never, because I'm an old punk. You know what I mean? Like the Dead was everything that I couldn't stand for a long amount of time. And then eventually I was like, you know, for a lot of years I was like, I can appreciate the music. I just can't get the fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was, again, me just being too punk for my own good. Like not digging a sound because of the group of people that followed them.
Yeah. But if you know music and enjoy music, sit down and listen to American Beauty and tell me that is not a wonderful record of music, of just a wonderful collection of songs.
That's exactly
I'm not a big Deadhead, but goddamn, like that album,
it's so good.
Is damn near perfect. You know, like it's a fantastic record.
You know, no, 100%, and it's wild. So like, there's that, and then I stumbled on there's this one, like I guess they qualify as like maybe a bluegrass or a jam band, but Leftover Salmon. They have
I've never heard of him.
It's the craziest name. I saw it come up on like a Spotify, like I think it was like I was listening to like Dead Radio or something like that on Spotify, and I was like, all right, cool, this is on, and I hear this one song, and I was like, this is cool. What band is this? And I look it up, and it's called Leftover Salmon. I was like, what an interesting freaking band name for a fisherman to see right here in my kayak. I'm like, okay. And I really enjoyed it. I was like, this is pretty good. But I mean, like, I get into it all. Like, I love the fact that my daughter got into Metallica, and I said to her, she was listening to the remake of Die My Darling. And I was like, I go, well, you should listen to this. And now she's all about the Misfits, this kid.
Yes,
I love it. I'm
awesome.
Like, good for
that
you.
Is rad.
And
that's so fucking
the
rad.
Danzig years, the only ones that truly matter. That's exactly
the ones that matter. Yep.
It's like, God, that's so awesome, man. I'm so happy.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, I have to shout out here. I played in a hip hop band, a live band hip hop. So hip hop's always on the menu, especially 90s stuff.
My first concert was Run DMC.
Early 2000s, like underground hip hop. I'm really into.
Okay.
Yeah. And then soul and funk. Where all that hip hop came from.
Exactly,
soul
the roots.
Funk,
yep.
Motown, R&B. Before this year, I think if you ask my son his favorite artist, it would be Michael Jackson. He knows every Michael Jackson song front to back.
Oh yeah.
Well, we're a very eclectic house when it comes to musical taste. You
gotta be. I love it, man. Rob, this was awesome, dude. Thank you so much for being part of the show, sharing your story.
Thanks for having me on,
dude. This was really, really fantastic. Do me a favor, just let folks know where they can kind of reach out to you. If maybe especially like with your story, if they have any questions for you, anything, where can they find you?
Absolutely. Hit me up on my Instagram. It's for now, it's my personal Instagram. It's Rob Drew, ROBDRU 82. And hit me up. There's some that's where I record most of my fishing pictures and shit like that. This coming year we'll be launching a little bit more fishing related. Me and my son will be launching something together.
Cool.
We're going to start doing some recordings and everything. That'll be DBC fishing. But if you follow me on my regular Instagram, then you'll see when I have that all up and running and everything.
That's awesome.
So that's it, man. I'm not really not pro staff or any of that business. I'm just a dude who likes fishing with family, man.
That's all that matters. That's truly all that matters, man. This was absolutely a delight, dude. Glad to have you on. Do me a favor and send me a picture of you just holding a tank. Any species, does not matter. Just an absolute tank, and we'll use it for the artwork for this episode, all right?
Sounds good, brother.
Awesome, brother. You have a good one, dude. We'll talk soon, okay?
You too.
All right, see you, man. Bye-bye. Well, there we are, guys. We have an amazing interview right there. It was probably one of the most interesting interviews, one that I didn't realize was going to go so deep. And Robert and I had a great conversation. It was really, really awesome. So the next time I find myself in the Houston area, he and I are going to catch some fish, and already trying to make plans actually for next winter to get either out to Texas or Louisiana or even Florida to fool around with and get on some open water for next winter. So we'll see what happens. One thing I do want to mention this week that I had forgotten earlier was that I received a package this week from the one and only Albert Rock, a.k.a. Canyon Lake, Texas Angler.
Albert?
Yeah, Albert had put up a post. I think this is like Christmas Eve. This is some sneaky shit. So he put up a post on his Instagram story saying, I have just a shit ton of 6 Sense Divine swim jigs. And, I'm not really, they're not performing for me. They're not the right thing for me. So I'm looking to unload them at a little bit of a deal. I think he was selling them for like $5 a pop. And I said, okay, cool. I said, I'm down. I said, how many do you have in a green pumpkin-esh, like a bluegill pattern? That's what I'm looking for. He goes, he's like, I think I have 12. They're all 3/8. He's like, I might even have some half ounce too. I was like, I'll take whatever you got. I want them.
Nice.
Yeah, so they arrived. He's like, it's stuff that I have never really gets thrown because we don't have much for shad here. And I'm like, I'm probably all set with those. But I am stoked. There's a couple of colors that I haven't used before that are in that bluegill pattern I'm looking forward to, and there's one of my favorites. I forget the name of the color, but it's got a black head, and it's got black and blue and green pumpkin strands in the skirt, and it's just absolutely amazing.
Nice.
Love it. So thank you, Albert. Appreciate it. Yeah, those arrived, and I was very excited. I was very giddy. I was like, this curbs the need to go and buy more tackle.
That's awesome, man.
Takes
Good.
the edge off.
Albert's a great guy. It's good to hear. I'm guessing things are going well with him.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Probably.
You know,
Good.
he's got. I think he took the kayak out of the water for the last time this year, and then he'll be back in shortly. But I think he only fishes a couple of spots, like a couple of different bodies of water, and that's it. But
Definitely Canyon Lake.
oh yeah, for sure. Definitely let that one be known. So we have Bill Galekis with us, and we're gonna get kind of nerdy. This is like that, the back of the newspaper with all those sketchy, missed connections things. This is the part of Jigs and Bigs that you're gonna get right now, guys. And I can't take any credit for this. This is all Shawn putting this thing together and making it happen. And he gave us
blame.
He gave us what I think is an amazing topic to go into going this. So why don't you go ahead and set this up, Shawn?
Wait a minute. I think Bill actually came up with that topic,
is this
right?
Bill's?
I think this is Bill's baby.
I think we were talking about it. Yeah. Hi, guys, by the way. And
Hi, Bill.
We were talking about these. He's like, well, what can we do for the first one? I was like, good, bad movies. And we were like, jackpot. It was like the first idea. And we're all like, yep, this is easy.
That easy. Because what we want to make sure during this kill the winter, the deadest part of the winter here, we want to make sure that when we have a topic, all three of us know something about it. So I'm not going to start going into some sort of random fucking comic book that I alone read, and you guys are sitting there going, we'll read it. Yeah, this sucks. We'll read it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're gonna cover something that all three of us have an opinion on with nerd shit. So good, bad movies. That means the best, worst movies you've seen. We came up with a couple each. All right. How are we going first? Who's going first? What are we doing here? Bobby, organize this thing. What's going on?
I'm just going to go out there because I think this is a film that everybody needs to see. It's not a great film. I don't know if it was ever intended to be a great film, but it is so great in how ridiculous it is. And it's by one of the most famous directors ever, Peter Jackson. Meet the Feebles. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a description on what this is about. I want to actually look this up here on IMDb. So this came out in 1989. It came out, right? Now, Meet the Feebles is essentially a multiple animal and insects experience the sleazier side of show business while working on a variety show. What this really is like... It's like the Muppets on crack. It really is. It is out of this world. It deals with some of the darkest stuff ever. There is a scene. Oh my God. I don't want to ruin it for anybody because it's so good. Put it this way. I had first seen this movie. There was a guy that I worked with when I worked in television. And one of the things about working in TV is like everybody that you work with is a media junkie. Like to one point or another, like everybody, they're all into like this one series or a bunch of movies or a genre of something. They're heavy into it. And I was talking with this guy, Tim McMahon, and he was telling me, this was like in the height of like Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson was like on the, coming out of everybody's mouth. It's just like, oh, Peter Jackson this. Did you see Lord of the Rings? One ring to rule them all. What the fuck up, you hobbit? Shit like that. And this is Peter Jackson's first film, Meet the Feebles. And there is so much puppetry and just dark comedy in here. It is, anyway, I had borrowed a series of videotapes from Tim. Another Peter Jackson film and a handful of other ones. But this one here, I remember I had a stack on my coffee table. This was the year that I was living with my buddy on that lake, Shawn. This is that year, and I had a date, so I had gone out and everything was great, and I'm like, yeah, why don't we go and we'll watch a movie? It'll be awesome. Sounds good. Oh yeah, I got all these DVDs here. I got this here. What are you into? So what's this tape? Meet the Feebles. I don't know. I've never seen it. That whole stack of videos is stuff that I have told a friend of mine I'm going to work through and get back to him. So she's like, let's watch this. There was a scene in here that was just such a dark turn that it was date over. It was the worst ever. It involved two puppets copulating on a desk.
And you know what? So that's 1989. Like, we talk about how movies were made in the 80s, but that kind of, I'm going to use the words, and I mean this very loosely in the broadest possible sense, but that type of artistic exploration was really not accepted until at least the mid 90s.
Yeah. Oh, it was
the 80s were still really traditional. Like around 1990, things really started changing in the world, and at least in pop culture in America. And that classic, how do I put this? I think the themes and the way things were presented up until around 1990 were all pretty static. Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
Am I saying like things were done in a certain way? It was the old guard was in charge. And then around the 90s, it was like fucking anything goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a formula.
Yeah, exactly. And then that got upended, and then you started seeing more shit like what you're describing. But 1989, that's early for that kind of thing.
It really was. And it was definitely something that, like, you watch it and you're like, this is an art house film. This is not going to be shown at the mall. You know? Nobody's going to go see that.
Not to ruin it, I looked up the movie on the Wikipedia because I haven't seen it. And Heidi, a hippopotamus, the star, is insulted by pornographic director Trevor, a rat, and complains to her boss and lover, Bletch, a walrus. And that's really all you need to know.
That's all.
I gotta watch this now.
Oh, I recommend it.
Is it on Netflix? What is it on?
I think it might be on Amazon.
Shit.
Yeah, it might be on Amazon. Right, I don't think it's on Netflix. This is, you got to do some digging. You might track it down. But who knows? Meet the Feebles.
All right, I'll check
this. Better or worse than the Hobbit trilogy?
I think it's better.
Well, that's not hard. That's what I was wondering, because The Hobbit's horrendous.
Yeah, I think it's better because you can crank this thing out. I mean, this film is done in something like 90 minutes. It doesn't say it on here.
But it's not a first date movie, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, I would not recommend that.
Wreck the mood.
I guess it wasn't his first movie. I think his first movie was a film called Bad Taste, which is another Peter Jackson movie that I've seen before, which is just disgusting and violent. It's good.
Sounds like there's some really interesting Peter Jackson shit under the surface here.
Oh yeah, there is, man. They're just missing out, you know. It's not all elves.
It's not.
He smokes. The directors have pen names. Like, did he do like snuff films like on the side somewhere?
Oh, maybe. Could have been.
King of New Zealand snuff films for years.
I mean, the movie.
You've never seen a nail gun used this way.
The movie poster is a hippopotamus in a dress holding an M60 with like the bandolier of ammo.
Yep.
Like wrapped around their forearm.
Oh yeah. I recommend it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll check it out. Well, why don't I go next? Because I see we're 1, 2, 3, and we'll keep Bill for the end. All right, and then we'll go through another round of this ridiculousness. I had my first good bad movie. All right, I don't even know if I want to include the word good in there.
Yeah,
I've talked about it on the show before. It is literally a test of strength of will to get through this movie. It's so bad. All right, but there's a couple of jokes in there. It is completely, like I was just saying, the old school. So obviously it is a movie that is not, it does not stand up over time. The humor does not. There's a lot of off-color humor that movie studios just don't make today. But there are a couple of gems in there that are really, really funny, and it's called Night Patrol. All right. So this is a bad movie. Really, really bad movie, as to where back in the early 80s, there was a stand-up comic known as the Unknown Comic, and he wore a paper fucking bag on his head. And this was his shtick.
Oh.
And he got into this movie, So this movie is not only the movie, but it's the unknown comic doing a monologue at some point, and his comedy act. All right. And Linda Blair is in it. She does, in fact, go topless by the end of the movie, which is probably one of the high points. I hate to say that. There's some humor in there. There's like some wordplay humor.
Okay.
That is worst dad joke you've ever heard level bad.
Oh, really?
It is bad. Yes. So her name in the film, Linda Blair's character, her name is Sue Perman.
Yep.
There is, I swear to God, a 1 minute shtick of her doing DC Comics Superman just wordplay jokes that fall completely flat.
Really?
Completely. Yes. Now,
Shocking.
My history with this film. I think I actually told this on the show one time, this story. I don't know if it was high school or college, but I came home late at night. We all know what kind of condition people are usually in when they come home late at night when they're in high school or college.
True.
And this was the time of USA Up All Night where they played bad movies. And there were two hosts. It was, I can't remember who was first. It was Rhonda Shear was first and then Gilbert Gottfried.
Yep.
Yeah, so they were the hosts of this movie, and they would obviously, it was on USA, it was late night, so they would cut most of these swears out or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was the 90s when I was watching this. So I came home and I'm having a sandwich on the couch at whatever, midnight, 1 a.m, and I'm staring at the television, and the first thing I'm greeted with is the scene of a sexual assault on this movie in a park. And the cop chases off the assaulters and goes to help the woman and flips the woman over. And who is the woman? It's Pat Morita from The Karate Kid. And I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? I don't know what was going on. I flip away from this fucking car wreck of a movie and I come back later and there is this one horrible scene that I don't even want to get into. It was a sex joke. There was some mental illness involved. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm watching this. So I turned it off. This led to a discussion well over a decade later at a class I was in with the military about this movie. I'm like, I don't remember the name of this movie. Now, at this point, IMDb had been up and running for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And they said, my instructor and somebody else had said, well, look, we don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but go on. It was at a military, it was at one of my training schools. We had some time at break or something. We were bullshitting about shitty movies. And I described this. I'm like, I don't know to this day what this movie's called. So I went on IMDb, made myself an account. I put in like this one Pat Morita scene. I don't think I was done typing it before 4 people said, it's Night Patrol, asshole. It's Night Patrol. But go by Night Patrol. And they sent me the links. So I picked up a copy of it on Amazon and I had a weekend and I said, all right, I'm going to watch this fucking thing. I sat down and watched it. It was like me pulling my own teeth. It was so bad. Yeah. It was so bad. And I got to the end of it.
Dice Clay cameo.
It does. Yeah, that's right. Dice is in it too. I mean, that should speak volumes about the quality of this movie. And I remember going to class that Monday with a disgusted look on my face. And I said, I challenge anybody to get through this whole movie in one sitting because I did it and it hurt. And I had nothing going on. And I think 2 or 3 of my classmates took me up on the challenge and were unable to complete it. It's that bad of a movie. I watch it once like a decade just to remind myself how bad movies can be. And then I'm always a little happier with even a shitty movie. It's that bad.
I'm gonna have to watch it now.
Yeah, I mean, you and I could talk about some of the off-color early 1980s humor that's involved in there.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it's as much racial as it is. There's a lot of off-color sexual stuff, but just I don't know what to tell you. I'll challenge you two, Bill and Bobby. All right.
Oh, I'm
try
not
it. You're not. You're not okay.
I read the synopsis and I'm like, no, I can't. Right. I mean, poor Pat Morita.
Bobby, you in on this? You want to try this? I'm masochism?
In. Yeah, I'm in. I'm intrigued because there's two actors in here, Bob Golub and George Nelson. They play the roles of Cockfighter 1 and Cockfighter number 2. Respectively. And I say that respectively.
I had forgotten about that, and that just to illustrate my point.
Hang on, I'm gonna do something here on camera, and you let me know if this is this emotion that you see at some point, like this dude covering his eye. Or am I thinking
I
of
don't
another
remember.
movie with cockfighters that goes way off fucking kilter?
No, I can't remember. All I
Okay.
can remember, like, seriously,
Because I may have
I've-
seen this, and it's just by the cockfighting that it's making me think that maybe I've seen this.
Well, go ahead and dig into it.
I'll check it
I want a full review. All right.
Best. I'll do my best.
All right. So Bill's out. You're in. Bill,
Well,
what do you got?
I'll try, I guess. I don't know.
It hurts so bad, but some of the jokes you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, that was so bad." I'm gonna use that.
Oh man.
What do you got for us, Bill?
I've thought of two other ones, like as we've just been talking here, but I'll let those sit. Anyway, my number one is going to be the 1993 classic Demolition Man.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
What a
The
pile of shit.
definition, the definition of a Stallone flick. It's no cliffhanger, but
No.
oh my god, this movie I watched in college on repeat. I've seen this movie more times than is healthy. Oh my god, between him and Snipes and Sandra Bullock and Dennis Leary at like new Dennis Leary early 90s.
Oh yeah.
Just came off the MTV like clips things where he was just angry and no cure for cancer and all that. But holy smoke, I actually watched this recently on HBO Max because it came up and I just couldn't help myself. And it's just as bad as it was then. It's like it hasn't aged badly, I guess. It's been stuck in cryogenesis or whatever they call it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's exactly as bad as it was then. It's just it's but it's fantastic.
Nope.
I mean, listen to the cast. You get Stallone, Snipes, Bullock, Nigel Hawthorne, who I don't really know, but Benjamin Bratt,
Yeah.
Leary, and then like the chief of police is the warden from Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
That's
It's
right.
the guy with the glasses and the bald head.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe he's not bald, but I mean, Jack Black apparently is in there. Dan Cortese of MTV fame, Rob Schneider. Oh God, Jesse Ventura. There's a whole bunch of people.
Oh, that's right. Ventura was in that too.
He was one of the
shit.
lackeys for Wesley Snipes. He was one of the bad
Yeah.
guy lackeys. He had a pretty much a cameo. But oh
So
my
we-
God.
We discussed this before we started recording this particular movie, and I'm pretty convinced that Bobby and I had this on the demo laser discs we got when we were working at Bernie's.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We were working at the perfect time, the lightning in a bottle, where laser discs were being pushed heavily for about 2 years. That was when we worked at Bernie's, so we had a stack. It was Jurassic Park, Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder was a big
think-
one.
I
Was
think
Twister
this
one of
one.
them? Twister.
I don't think Twister.
I don't think Twister was out yet
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
because Twister was what, 96?
That also might have been too good of a film.
Yeah, we had Jurassic Park.
That's true.
The first one's all right,
First one is good, but
Oh my God. Yeah. No,
God.
Demolition Man. If you haven't seen it, you do yourself a favor. Go check that one out.
I love it. I love it, man. I have. It's been years since I've seen that, but yeah.
We're going out to eat at Taco Bell.
I love
Oh my
it.
God. Maybe we should all watch each other's movies here and then come back next week with a review of this shit and be like, wow, we were not lying to each other. This stuff sucks.
I'm gonna end up with a new therapist after recommending my shit to you guys. Do you want to go and do round two?
Yeah, you're
of
up.
this? All right. So my next one is a classic. This is like it goes back all the way to like when I was like in this came out in 86. So I was 9 years old when this came out. And I think I saw this. I think I rented it like one time when I was over at my grandparents' house. It's a movie. Let me just go ahead and go through the synopsis here. It's the story of one young man, Crew Jones, who has the intensity and the desire to win a BMX race called Hell Track.
In a world where Hell Track.
Yeah, it's the movie Rad. And I bring this up because Rad has a freaking amazing soundtrack. so much of an amazing soundtrack that when I think when I first had asked, like when we first started making playlists on Spotify for events, Shawn, and I started asking, like in the Hookset Hoodlums Pro Staff chat, about like, hey, you know, what are some songs that you guys think that, you know, that we've mentioned maybe that I'm forgetting and put on there? I think it was Ken. I think Ken had suggested Break the Ice and what was the Send Me an Angel. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Send Me an Angel,
I was gonna say, I'm looking at the soundtrack here. Like, I don't know any of these songs.
Oh no.
Name.
And you know what's funny? Let's. I just want to jump away for a second, but you know what's funny? Also, during the time we were working at Bernie's and the time we were in high school, Bobby, we lived through the golden age, the platinum age of movie soundtracks. They were hit and miss in the 80s, but somewhere around the 90s, man,
they got good.
All of a sudden, every movie soundtrack everybody had, whether you saw the movie or not.
Yeah, exactly. Because they were just
go
that
through
good.
a list of that.
Mm-hmm. That would be a good
save
one.
that for another day.
Let's
save that for another day.
Good one. I know
Best
a couple
movie
that are on there.
soundtracks.
Yeah,
I like
we'll go
that.
for that for another day.
I have a feeling there's one that we're all going to have on ours, but I want to leave that alone and see if it happens. I have a feeling there's one soundtrack we're all going to have. We're going to be like, isn't that the best fucking thing ever? The movie sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I know which one you're talking about, too.
The soundtrack was fucking awesome. And the movie's
Well, no,
terrible.
that could be fucking 20 of them.
It could be.
There were. I'm thinking of two right now off the top of my head that we probably both, all three of us probably have the soundtracks to.
Yep.
And it's that I bet you that. Well, I mean, one I guess sticks out a little more than others.
Let's let it go and see if it naturally ends up the way it should be. This could be exciting.
Well, you talk about Rad a little more. I'm going to go ahead and book that for next week.
I love it. So Rad, it is. It's everything you want in an 80s movie. It's 91 minutes of it's like the Karate Kid that couldn't. If I'm being totally honest here, same premise. It's just instead of karate, it's BMX racing. You know. And there's a little love story in there. There's, the new guy gets, he kind of has to show up the badass in the BMX world. And it's it's not a great film, but God, it tries. Lori Loughlin's in this. Bill Allen. Who else is in this? Alfie Wise.
Ray Walston.
Yeah, Ray Walston. And Crew is played by Bill Allen. Lori Loughlin. Let me make sure I'm thinking of the right person. Lori Loughlin. That's right. Yeah, she had used her celebrity to get her kids into college.
Oh my God,
Adrian. Talia Shire.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. She's the mom, Mrs. Jones. You know what they say about Mrs. Jones?
She has a diary.
She does.
No, that's
Bridget Jones. I was going to say we got a thing going on, but it's also that's older than our typical audience. Older than us by a few fucking decades.
Mm-hmm. So I remember watching this movie again. I was 10, 11, 11. And I watched that movie on loop. It was on HBO nonstop.
Oh, yeah.
And like, all I remember was like, can I spoil a little bit at the end?
Go for it. Yeah.
I mean, it's an old movie, right?
Yeah. Oh,
like the kid does the backflip out of like a soup ladle or something. Or he like does like a backflip to win the race or I don't know.
Something like that. I think he's in a pool is what it is.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was that BMX move where you always saw them, they jumped and they turned the wheel sideways. I remember being a kid being like, I'm going to do that. The problem was I only got 3 inches of air.
Yeah.
And I had just enough time to turn the wheel sideways before I hit the ground. And then I hit the ground. It was just, I went right over the handlebars, smashed my face in the ground. And I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. BMX is stupid.
You know, Bobby, did you have any dumb BMX injuries before I get into this?
Yeah, I got a good one. So I can remember like ripping down this hill in my neighborhood. I lived on this cul-de-sac, and one side was much steeper than the other as far as the way the hills went down. And I, like an idiot, I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but like my brakes were going, and I jammed my foot into the fork of the fucking front tire. Flip myself forward. This was on the grass. I had gotten to the grass. Ooh. Side of my head and my shoulder, I just went sliding like on this part of my body. Like it was so bad. God. It just kicked me right out. Oh, it was so bad.
Well, let me throw mine in, and we can let our listeners decide who's the dumbest BMX idiot. We lived on a street that joined up with two other streets. So it was kind of like a block made almost like a W, right? But there were 4 streets instead of 3, right? So at the end of my street, we had a quiet street growing up. At the end of my street, there was a bit of like a wooded area. There was a pond there. It has since been completely, all the wood has been cut down, and it's been turned into a nice little open park, which I don't even think the public can use. It's just like an open lawn. It sucks.
Okay.
But there was a pond there, and there was a path going in there, but to separate the path from the road, there was a 4-foot tall just mound of dirt, like a wall.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
And then, like when we were kids, we literally went out in the yard one time during a rainstorm, and someone had gotten their Jeep stuck on top of the wall. They couldn't get it off because they tried to drive over it and just got it stuck right in the middle of the chassis. I don't know how the fuck they got that thing out of there.
Oh wow!
But so it was like a path, and people would take their dirt bikes in there, and they wouldn't use it as a ramp. But we did, on our BMXs,
of course.
So you guys are smart. We would fly down our street, get as much speed as possible, and hit that fucking thing, right? So we're like 6-7 feet up in the air.
Yep.
And you're going 10, 15 feet, and you're landing with these bikes. We had no helmets, no pads.
No, fuck that. What's a helmet?
I don't know what happened one day. I was fucking way up there, and then I wake up, I come to, and I'm on the ground. I'm on my stomach, and I feel pain. I had a fucking like a broken stick. Like into my stomach. It was breaking the skin. It didn't go deeper in. I got very lucky I was not impaled. Like I never even had a scar from it, but it was like, there was blood. My brother saw what happened. I'm coming to and look up. There's my mom. What the fuck did you do? Like, I've got a stick into my body. I'm like, I have no idea what happened. I don't remember landing. I don't remember shit. So there's my BMX injury. Oh. I got fucked up. I never hit that jump again. That was bad. But I mean,
at least you learned.
Oh my God. How did we all survive the fucking
That's what
80s?
I'm saying. I don't know, totally unrelated, but talking about stupid injuries and stupid shit that you did at one time or another. I don't know why I got the idea like I was going to build like a soapbox like derby car. Like I was going to like one I could actually just put on that giant hill and just like rock it down. So I get no, this is the best part. My dad helped me do this. We had like just this box of like rando ass parts. So we took like this it was like I don't know. There's just this one board and a couple of like 2x4s that were like the axles. That was the general chassis. We put like a crate that we had cut out for the seat, and we used like just rope, and you'd put your foot on the axles, and that's how you would steer. You want to know what we had on
like
here
for toboggan?
Yeah, you know what we had on here for fucking wheels? Like wheels from a grill. It was so bad, dude. So, but I'll tell you what, for like 2 weeks, I was the coolest kid in the neighborhood that week, because everybody's like, "Whoa, that's great." Other people tried making them and shit like that. I don't know where I got the idea from, but I can remember for like, so it was like, we'll say it was like the end of the summer or something like that. The first like 3 weeks into school, my sneakers had like that, the heel, instead of being an angle like this, there was a 45-degree angle like shaved off from me using my heels as brakes. Like there's like Nike tread streaked across the street on the way down, because I'd be like, I'm gonna die.
We used to watch movies and be like, that's cool, I'm gonna do it every time, all of us.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I'm not gonna watch Rad, because I'll end up doing something stupid.
You're like, hey,
no, you're too old.
I'm gonna go get.
You think that?
Go to a bike shop.
Did you guys see that reel that just went through that? This guy probably our age or older, who's probably in the the peak of the BMX days in the
Oh,
80s and into the 90s.
I did see
Guy's
that.
an older guy, and he's just fucking on a BMX. And he's
Killing
like, fuck
it.
this. He's just doing all sorts of tricks, and
Yep.
he's definitely older than us.
Yeah. And
Crazy
he looks
shit.
like he should not be doing those tricks, but he is making them happen. He's doing it.
He woke up the next day like, why does everything hurt?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well,
My God.
let me move on to my number 2 choice here. I went big on this one. I didn't just take one movie because this series of movies literally has been a running joke for 75 years. All right. I feel like, hi, my name's Shawn. I'm a Godzilla fan.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay.
In brief, I know how bad they are. I
Sure.
just hope that everyone there's some sort of redeeming quality. Now, here's why they're bad, and this is what they got ripped on for the 80s, through the 80s and into the 90s. Right? They're not American movies.
No, they're not.
The translation loses something. I understand that. There's nothing I can do about that. I don't speak Japanese fluently.
Yeah.
I have to do what I got to do. All right. I can put in a sushi order when I have to, and that's about the extent of my Japanese.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So growing up, these movies were my favorite, and we grew up really until the 90s, man. VHS wasn't readily available. It was still expensive.
No. Yeah, you had to see it on cable, at the best,
So I didn't even see all that initial run of 1950 through basically 1980. I'm going to use round numbers. Basically 1980, that 30-year run. There were Godzilla movies I didn't see. I mean, I remember, this is how much of a nerd I am with this shit, but I remember seeing the last of those Godzilla movies the night before I went to college. The night before I went away to college.
Oh, really?
That's how it's. I hadn't seen one of those movies. It was 25 years old at that point, and I hadn't seen it. And I was like, wow, this is what I missed. What the fuck? And so we watched them growing up. We watched them at Thanksgiving channel.
Yeah.
And we mentioned this on the show, like around Thanksgiving, channel 38. My grandfather was always good about keeping one TV in his house on that, so I could watch that if I didn't want to watch football.
Yeah, there you go.
And
The creature double feature.
yeah, well, it was all day. It was a marathon. We had the movie channel TMC growing up. They had a Godzilla summer marathon, so we would watch that all week.
Yep.
And that would have King Kong movies on it too. But I always watch these movies, and then right as VHS came out, you know that line in Mallrats where what's her name? Shannon
Doherty.
care about your goddamn Godzilla bootleg movies. So for a while, they were releasing movies like they made Godzilla 1985 because it had what's his name? The dude who played Perry Mason. Fucking
Raymond Burr.
Thank you. Raymond Burr was in that because he was in the original Godzilla, right? The Americanized version.
That's right.
Yeah, he was in that, and then in Godzilla 1985. And we talk about like the Avengers now, the Avengers movie series, and how good they are. Well, at that time, unbeknownst to us in America, Japan did that for Godzilla. There was like 6 or 7 straight Godzilla movies that had a continuity. Every movie was based on the one before.
Yeah.
We missed it all. Like I had no idea that was fucking happening.
They weren't even available, to us.
Yeah, unless we got the bootlegs. They weren't
Gotcha.
even, they didn't even start popping up at video stores until the late 90s or like early 2000s. And I had no idea. And then I went back and watched all those. I'm like, they're completely campy. They're shitty. But it had a continuity. I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. A series with continuity. And then after that, they did something weird where there went about 10 years with every Godzilla movie being a direct sequel to the original from 1950, whatever. It was just so bizarre.
Yep.
And then this is the creme de la creme. This is the last gasp of Godzilla movies. It was called Final Wars. I think it came out in 2007.
Yep.
It is this weird combination of The Matrix, X-Men, Godzilla. It's so bizarre. And because as we know in Japan, there's a I don't know. I'm not going to say a fetish, but they obviously MMA has been more popular in Japan.
Oh, for sure.
With the Pride leagues, even before UFC started up.
Yep.
Don Fry, the MMA fighter who was big in Japan. He's an American guy, went to Japan.
That's right.
He has this starring role in it. I sent you a clip a minute ago, Bobby, check your text.
I saw that. I was wondering what that was. Now it makes sense.
Are you ready? Because this is so bad. I want to have an example so everyone can hear how bad.
I'm going to try to play it. I'm going to hope that it doesn't play an ad beforehand.
Okay, well, you do your thing. I'll keep talking.
Yeah.
So that ended that, and then from that point, it was the MonsterVerse stuff that we see now, which I think the first one was okay. The second one was a pile of shit. The third one was the second one was not a pile of shit. The second one was Kong Skull Island, which was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That was the best one.
Yeah, and then the third one's a steaming pile of shit. The only redeeming fucking feature is that Boston gets blown up. I mean, it's always good. It's honorable when your town gets blown up by giant monsters. I mean, that's just it.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, this is Don Fry on Godzilla Final Wars.
Listen, kid. There are two things you don't know about the Earth. One is me, and the other is Godzilla.
It's the worst hype line ever.
Oh,
Why was he sounds like he's talking like he's made of stone, right? And then there's that awkward pause for no reason of the other thing is Godzilla.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's just so it's I don't know. I can't. I'm like a dog eating my own shit. I can't stop watching these movies. I know I shouldn't, but I keep doing it. You know?
No, it's something you grew up with. It's imprinted on you at this point. And
I know,
but
but
it's a Godzilla movie. You know what you're getting into. We said this earlier.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, there's occasionally the good ones have a serious tone, and it's meant to be a science fiction / horror reflection of the devastating effects of, in the first one's case, nuclear weapons.
Yep.
Which, guess what?
Right.
Japan had plenty of knowledge on that, unfortunately.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And then recently there was one that came out about, I don't know, Bill, you got IMDb up?
Sure.
Type in Shin, just like the human Shin, Godzilla. I don't know what that means in Japanese. See what year that came out. 2010, 2011?
Come on, internet, don't fail.
2012, maybe?
2016.
It was 2016. All right.
Yeah.
So that one was Godzilla, but instead of nuclear, well, it kind of ties in, it actually touches on the tones of the bureaucracy in Japan that happened during the Fukushima, the issues with that nuclear plant.
Oh, okay.
So they get it's a reflection of that.
Excuse me.
So there's serious tones in there, but what happens is these movies get popular and then immediately they get watered down so completely that you have 1970s Godzilla with running around with the friend of all children and shit like that. And then I don't know what this MonsterVerse thing was. It was awful except for Skull Island. Skull Island was fucking great. Great.
I mean, we watched all the new MonsterVerse ones one weekend when the wife went away with her sisters, and I mean, my 10-year-old was fully involved, and I enjoyed watching them with him because he didn't care about the plot at all. He just wanted to see monsters beat shit up.
Yeah,
he was all about it.
There you go.
And we enjoyed the hell out of him, and that led right into Pacific Rim, which he was all about too. You know, Godzilla versus gigantic robots. He was like, I'm in.
Oh,
this is
yeah.
great.
Yeah, so I can't stop it. I don't know how to stop it. I don't really want to stop it. It's just I keep doing that. Recently, there's been a couple of Netflix series that have been really good, but they've been animation.
Yeah.
So I'm going down that path, but I don't know. What's a boy to do?
Just call it a guilty pleasure and continue.
All I could tell you, if you guys are gonna if I had to pick one. If I had to pick one that is so fucking horrifically bad out of all of these that I would tell anybody to stay away from this one. There's one called Godzilla on Monster Island. All right. It was a shitty translation and it's from the 70s. Number one, it's not even fully original because they got so lazy at Toho by this time. They were using fucking stock footage from other Godzilla movies.
Oh, okay.
So they were using that shit, and it's just so bad. But then the plot line is there's a little kid who's fucking getting bullied at school, and he has an imagination fucking trip to Monster Island where the bully is now in the form of a monster, and Godzilla and his son beat the shit out of him. But Godzilla's son can talk to this kid, and he comes up with the single fucking greatest line, even better than that Don Fry one.
Really?
So the kid arrives on the island, and there's Godzilla's son. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" And Godzilla's son, my wife still says this to me today if we're sitting around by ourselves and one of us says, "Hey, what's going on?"
Yeah.
The answer is always, "Well, I'm just sitting here by myself because I got no friends." The fucking monster says that. It's phenomenal. I'm just sitting here by myself because I got no friends.
Oh my god.
That is the worst. That one, I would highly recommend watch Godzilla on Monster Island under your favorite fucking sedative or sleepy tobacco or alcohol. Hit that hard or any psychedelic. It'll work.
Okay.
Just that is the worst one of it's horrible. It's horrible. So enjoy. That's all I got. I'm going to go back into my hole and pretend I never had this conversation with, whoever's listening.
Now,
All right.
what do we got?
I'm going to go with a Samuel L. Jackson movie, and it is not Snakes on a Plane.
Okay.
It is Deep Blue Sea.
Deep Blue Sea, baby.
Deep Blue Sea. Samuel L. Jackson, Thomas Jane, who's a famous that guy. Like, he's been in 1,000 things.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
a Punisher movie.
Pre-Punisher Thomas Jane.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But he's been in 1,000 things. LL Cool J, you can't go wrong there.
That will not be making my list of greatest fucking movie soundtracks. Watch out, my head is like a shark's fin.
Right. Oh, God. Oh, I forgot about the song. That's right. Oh, my God. I forgot all about the song.
It's awful. It is
you're
not
the worst.
LL Cool J's finest moment.
No, it's
Why
not.
would you remind me of that? That's terrible.
Because my head is like a shark's fin.
God. So, I mean, the whole movie based around, people shouldn't genetically mutate animals because things can go wrong.
Yeah.
Theme, Jurassic Park, Godzilla, whatever. Let's take something natural and mutate it with science. What could go wrong? But I mean, the shining point of that movie, though, is the death of Samuel L. Jackson. It's just fantastic. He's just given the whole, we're going to rise up and we're going to whoop the crap out of these sharks. And all of a sudden one jumps out of the pond and just smokes them. And it's out of nowhere.
I feel like I have seen
That
this.
is the greatest part of the movie. You're right.
And I mean, LL Cool J has a parrot in his submarine or something for some reason. Anyway,
Michael
That is like a shark's fin.
right.
Michael Rappaport's in it.
Oh God,
Yeah.
Michael Rappaport, Stellan Skarsgård,
Yeah.
who's actually a well-respected actor.
I think I saw that in the theaters.
This could technically be considered part of the Marvelverse, right? You got Thomas Jane as the Punisher. You got Stellan Skarsgård. He was the scientist, right?
I'm sure it's an alternate universe now.
Samuel L. Jackson was Nick Fury.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. LL Cool J hasn't showed up in the Avengers yet.
Not yet.
I find that hard to believe.
Well,
and you get
wait a
Janice
minute.
from The Sopranos.
Wait a minute. There's not one, but there's 2 sequels to this. Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh God, I didn't even know.
Are
that.
you serious?
Oh, there were. Oh my God. Direct-to-video sequel was number 3.
That makes all the sense in the world.
Well, absolutely.
Oh,
right?
wow.
There was probably a movie on the on the Blockbuster shelf called, like, I don't know, Turquoise. That's a blue, right?
Yeah.
Deep Turquoise Sea. It was probably just a knockoff Netflix movie.
Dude, listen. My oldest son got into these killer shark fucking movies. As a matter of fact, we found in the $5 bin at Walmart the other day. We just bought Land Shark.
Oh God.
Which looks phenomenal, right? So he got into all those direct to DVD or the sci-fi movies where there was all these. It started getting stupid with crossed animals. So I did not know there were 2 movies. I knew there was a Sharktopus movie.
Yeah.
I did not know the sequels were Sharktopus versus Terracuda, which is a Barracuda pterodactyl mix.
Oh, God.
And
Because of course it is.
Sharktopus versus Whale Wolf.
Whale Wolf?
We have some watching to do. Sharktopus versus Whale Wolf. I'm in.
I somewhat
fucking
pride
in.
myself on the fact that I never saw Sharknado or any of the
neither did I.
that came out.
You know what?
Yeah.
I would like to see the first one. I have I saw parts of it. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So my brother said to screw with me, bought me a Sharknado poster that is waiting to go up on the wall. But I will hit it. I will.
Oh,
I mean, it's just such a schlock, mock everything film. But then, of course, it got popular, and they made 45 sequels. Wasn't there one with burning sharks in a tornado? They were like doused with gas or some shit.
I have no idea.
I wouldn't be surprised if you're right. I wouldn't. It was so bad.
Sharks with freaking lasers on their heads. I have no idea. That's just funny.
Freaking
Oh, man.
bananas. Oh.
I'm thoroughly disgusted with our choice in movies. Now we have a lot of stuff to go through.
This is going to be rough.
I got two quick honorable mentions that I thought of that I didn't tell you guys about.
Go for it.
The Toxic Avenger.
Oh, hands down. Toxic Avenger. All that stuff is amazing.
I forgot about it. And then Dungeons and Dragons.
See, I remember seeing that when I was a kid and not really like appreciating it at all.
So I was the target audience for that TBS Guys from Movies Who Like Movies thing they used to have. I was like the target, because I would just watch anything. I don't care. I shut my brain off and go with it for 2 hours. That movie took me 2 days to get through. It's only 90 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it was so bad. Like I had to finish because I had to finish it. And then I was like, there are very few times that I'm like, I wish I had those 90 minutes of my life back. I wish I had those 90 minutes of my life back. It was horrendous. Just awful.
Is it the... No, that's Honor Among Thieves. That's different.
But it had like Jeremy Irons and Thora Birch, who was the girl from American Beauty. I think American Beauty.
Yep.
One of the Wayans brothers and one of the Irons brothers.
I'm thinking of a totally
Jeremy
different
or
movie.
Jason Irons. Jeremy or Jason. What the hell was the kid's name?
Was it Waylon?
One of them was. What was that?
Waylon?
No, it was one of the kids from like the Dazed and Confused. One of those, the twin brothers there. I can't. Oh God, I gotta look it up now.
I know who you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
The kid was also in Mallrats. The other one.
Dazed and Confused and Mallrats was Ben Affleck was in both.
No, it's not them. It's Jeremy London. It's the Londons.
Okay, yeah.
London.
Oh, okay.
Randall Pink Floyd, man.
That's what I said. It was one of those kids.
That's right.
Randall Pink Floyd.
Those two. Yeah, Toxic Avenger, man. I forgot about that movie until we were talking about it.
All of those trauma movies are just...
Well, while we're wrapping this up, I think I have two that I have to see. Actually, there's about 8 movies I have to see right now. I did not know there were 6 Sharknadoes. All of them, Ian Ziering is in and Tara Reid are in. So there's a continuity.
That's all you need.
But there's 2 spin-offs because Ian Ziering is his character in these spin-offs. It's Jesus Christ, I don't know how to say this. 2015's Lava Lantula. Lava Lantula is a spin-off of Sharknado about I can't even read this without fucking laughing. About fire-spitting tarantulas causing havoc over Los Angeles. Starring some of the cast from Police Academy. This sounds phenomenal.
Really?
Yep, features an appearance by Ian Ziering tying it into the universe, and there's a sequel to that called Two Lava, Two Lantula. Premiered on Sci-Fi in 2016.
Yep.
Some of the cast from the original film returned, including Steve Guttenberg and Michael Winslow. This sounds fucking fantastic.
Holy shit. Okay. All right.
Lantula.
All right.
Fire spitting tarantulas. This is great. Oh my God. Do we need to start a nerd podcast here, Bobby? This is fucking ridiculous.
I see. That's why I feel like this genre for podcasts is so easy because you can just go into a spiral.
Yeah, we did for another 2 hours
easily.
Yeah, we just did.
Easily.
Yep.
It's
Okay.
freaking bananas.
I'm done. What do we do? We have a fishing podcast? Is that
We
what
have
we're
a
doing?
fishing. Welcome to our fishing podcast, guys.
My dining room table has a bunch of tackle boxes on it. It makes it feel better.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you have a group of guys who don't have safe ice in their area and can't get out on any open water because everything is just skim ice everywhere. I'm telling you, like this is the product of our environment right here.
Look,
Good Lord.
I had ice on the lake in the backyard up to about a week ago until the goddamn lava lantulas got here.
Those lava lantulas will fuck it all up. You know, you think you got your fish on some kind of a pattern, and now you got to go on a goddamn lava lantula pattern.
You got to buy that fucking spider, the big fucking spider. You got to throw that around, set it on fire.
Get on it, Lunker Hunt.
fire.
I need a fire-breathing topwater spider. Let's make it happen. You know what? I'm making one. I'm just going to
There you
make
go.
one. I'm going to make one myself. That's what it's going to be, and I'm going to catch a new PB on it.
Lava
My
The
God.
habanero spider.
There you go.
Perfect.
Oh, all right, gentlemen. This was awesome. This is really, really great. I'm excited. We'll do more of this. If you guys like this and you want to suggest kind of a topic that maybe we should dive into, feel free to let us know. Make a suggestion. I mean, if it's hot garbage, we probably won't touch it. But go ahead and throw one into the old inbox there, and we'll see what we can churn out for you. I guess this is about going to do. You have anything you want to add in here, Shawn, before I wrap things up?
Yes, lavalantulas.
Don't forget your lavalantulas, guys. Always carry a fire extinguisher at all times. I will have amazing shit, guys. So much good stuff lined up for you. We have Noel Roth coming up next week. We have, I'm going to be recording a bunch of stuff with Todd Grubb while doing some camping in our vehicles in Narragansett. You're going to have up-to-date information of all the good stuff that's gone down, as well as an amazing pizza review. This is all going around the Narragansett Surfcaster show, guys. So we will see you next time. We have taken up enough time of your day. Have yourselves a great week, everybody. Catch some fish. Tag us in your picks if you sleep through you. Until then, have yourselves a great week, everybody. And like we always say,
Tits and ass, smoke some grass.